because of you.
Arrivederci, faithful pregame viewers.
Bonjour.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno is the face of pizza.
Fantasy Football Pregame with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Our objective is just to do this show with halfway decent English.
Yep.
That's the goal for Week 10 of Fantasy Football Pregame. The season is in double digits. You cannot waste a single opportunity, okay? We're past the halfway point, so ain't no half-stepping when it comes to your lineup decisions, your trade ideas, incoming and outbound trades, your start sits, your drop ads, everything. We got you. Hit us with the hashtag FF Pregame as always. Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson, Denny Carter's with us. What's up, Doug?
Yeah, Denny Carter in the house.
All right?
I'm good.
All right, man. Welcome aboard.
Jay is busy with a boondoggle. Here we go, and this is a tweet from me before you get excited about it. They always do that. They always give us the chime saying, "Hey, there's a question coming in,"
Right.
And it's always like my tweet.
But it's usually your tweet saying, tweet the show.
Right, exactly.
But now you have an actual question?
No, I don't have a question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought of what to do with Cincinnati, which we will answer that question.
We will answer that question.
I'm about to say, you're asking yourself questions,
Steven is
which would be awesome if you asked
Steven
yourself
is chime happy. He loves pushing that chime button.
Okay.
I don't know what it is.
Cool.
Use the hashtag FF Pregame or jump in the YouTube comments on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. We will answer more questions than any other show in the next 2 hours, including why isn't Denny in a cardigan?
That's a good question, Matthew, and I had it packed.
Okay.
But I went without it today because I didn't want to distract from the show. And honestly, I didn't want to distract from the biggest news, which is obviously the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift kiss.
It was very exciting.
They actually kiss each other.
I didn't see
She ran off the stage in
awesome.
Argentina.
Yeah.
She ran off the stage in Argentina, ran into his arms, kissed him, and kissed him. By the way, previously she changed the lyrics to "Karma," one of her big hits, of course.
Yeah.
Karma is the guy on the Chiefs.
So it's real.
Well,
it is real.
And as Matthew said, you started this week on the bye.
It's either real or right, exactly. That's what I said. Right, exactly. Even on a bye, look, it's Travis Kelce's world. We're all just living in it.
No
Let's
doubt.
be clear about
Based on vibes, you got to start them.
I mean, dude.
The vibes are much better here on Fantasy Football Pregame than they are
often
overseas, with all due respect. You ain't missing nothing with Patriots Colts. 7-3 last we checked. We'll keep you posted, but much better to watch us talk about football
1,000%.
than to watch football. Okay, trust me. You got something? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's very rare that my 12-year-old daughter sends me a TikTok of a football player.
Right.
But yes, both my daughters. So I have twin 12-year-old daughters. Each of them separately sent me the video of Travis and Taylor.
Right
there you go.
Got one for my wife.
Let's talk about what else is moving the needle today. Let's get into our top storylines. I don't think it gets any bigger than your storyline, Matthew Berry.
Listen, Kyler Murray's back. James Conner is back as well. Just excited to get Kyler Murray, who has been a top 20 fantasy quarterback every single year on a points-per-game basis of his career, coming back in a nice home game against the Falcons. In his 10 full games last year, Kyler Murray, 20 fantasy points per game. James Conner, prior to the injury, was averaging over 17 touches a game. So what does this Cardinals offense look like that has some talent? We've seen the emergence of Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. We know Hollywood Brown can be a wide receiver one borderline. So that's my storyline, is just what does Kyler look like 331 days since the last time we saw him on an NFL field.
I don't think we could overstate the significance of this. I'm going to read from a newsletter that I subscribe to. It's called Fantasy Life.
Thank you very much.
It's pretty comprehensive, pretty informative newsletter.
Every day, free.
Just 5 signal callers have averaged 20-plus fantasy points per game throughout their career during the Super Bowl era with a minimum of 16 starts. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson, Justin Herbert, and Kyler Murray. That's the caliber of quarterback that is returning. A lot of people have been waiting for this. Had him stashed on their roster. He can make the difference down the stretch, Lawrence.
Yeah, and for me, my storyline is another guy he hasn't been with his team for more than 331 days. He's been there closer to 3 days. And now that Josh Dobbs is acclimated, kinda, he been there for a week and a half.
Knows a few names.
Yeah, knows a couple of names. Maybe he might, know Jordan Addison name this time. will he be able to keep the train rolling? Now, he came in against Atlanta Jaron Hall played almost the whole quarter. Josh Dobbs came in there, started slow, turned the ball over twice.
It was real bad.
Yeah.
Got sacked for the safety, but ended up as quarterback 5 in fantasy straight.
Looking like Michael Vick.
Just balling. like talk about just balling. Led the team to the victory. Can he continue that now versus the Saints defense that's not the best, but they're definitely not the worst. They're okay. Solid as defense. Can he continue that here in week 10?
That 4th down run was as good a play as there's been in the NFL this year.
Absolutely.
In terms of what it meant, in terms of everything that
Definitely.
went into it, in terms of where he was, in terms of like that. I don't want to say that saved the Viking season, but like, I mean,
hurt. It didn't hurt.
if the Vikings end up making the playoffs and the rest of their schedule is really, really nice. We talked about Kevin O'Connell for Coach of the Year 2 weeks ago at 60-1 on Fantasy Football Happy Hour. If they end up making the playoffs, they will point back to that play as like a turning point, like, oh, we've got something in Josh Dobbs. We're not dead without Kirk Cousins. We can make a run here.
First of all, Josh Dobbs has unbelievable dog levels. Okay,
Yes.
maybe the highest in the league.
Yeah.
7 rushes last week. I think you can pencil him in for 5+ rushes every week.
Yeah, as good a story. Talk about as good a run, as good a story as there is in the NFL right now.
Have you ever interviewed Josh Dobbs?
You know what? It's funny you say that. Knock on wood. That's the plan this week for Gets
Okay.
It. That's, so I will this week. Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
For Michael Smith Gets It. He is, I will tell you, I have interviewed him.
Yeah.
He is as good a dude as there is in the NFL, and you hear that from
sure.
everyone.
He's an aeronautical
You
engineer.
can
First of all,
even
he's a
hear
genius.
you can even hear how he was talking about getting traded. How he didn't know. He wasn't acting all sour about it. He just like, it is what it
He's a
is.
pro.
I was told what I was told, but now we here, and you could tell he just like his mind just get to the next play, next thing. Like one day you're in Arizona, the next you're like the hero in Minnesota.
Well, first of all, he's a genius. I mentioned aeronautical engineer, 4.0 at the University of Tennessee, literally a rocket scientist, right? He's interned with NASA. But just to one other point on this, you're right about him being a good dude.
Yeah.
And that's why you root for good stories like this. For somebody to be on this many teams, it takes a good dude to navigate quarterback rooms. Like, it's not just the talent to play in the NFL, but when a lot of teams want you, that says something about the type of person that you are. So all hats off to Josh Dobbs for what he's pulling off in Minnesota.
Right. And the last thing is you say, like, well, okay, all those teams wanted him, but all those teams didn't want him. And then you're just like, all right, well, he was stuck behind Ben Roethlisberger, who's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He was stuck behind Deshaun Watson, who, is $250 million in guaranteed money.
Right.
Stuck behind Kyler Murray, who's also got a, $200 million contract or whatever. Like, it just
Hey, there's
bad
good money as a backup
circumstances,
quarterback for your
and
career.
right.
And then you get your shot and you seize it.
And they drafted Kenny. I don't think they ever gave him a real shot in Pittsburgh for whatever reason, because then they drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round, and then anyway, we're thrilled for Josh Dobbs.
Yes,
good
we
storyline,
are.
Lawrence.
Denny, what is your storyline?
I want to see if Taysom Hill can keep getting away with it. Because, look, he has, but I love it as someone who drafted a lot of Taysom Hill. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I'm starting.
This guy is 10th in carries in the red zone. He's 5th in carries inside the 10-yard line. These are incredibly valuable touches. He's passing a few times a game. Last week he saw 5 targets. He caught 4 of them for 35 yards.
Crazy.
You can't get this from any other tight end. I'm including Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Wow.
In this, his
That's
role
blasphemy.
is very, very
Get out.
valuable. But wait a sec. But Taysom Hill gets these. He is the quarterback in the red zone. Like Derek Carr is benched. And then Taysom Hill comes in.
It's hard to
and he
argue
gets
with
all
that.
those. He
Yeah,
gets
And
all
it's
those.
hard to argue with that.
And
from
we've
the
never
Saints
seen
point of view.
this.
Speaking of Travis Kelce, I think I know Travis Kelce's the only tight end who scored more points at the position than Taysom Hill over the last 4 weeks. So there you go.
I'm riding that sucker to the wheels.
He's got
I mean,
2 straight games with 20 fantasy points. So it's
Yeah.
like, I think he can keep getting away with this.
I think he can. I think the role is stable enough now so that we can rely on it. Now, could it change at some point? Yes. But right now, it seems stable. He's in there for goal line touches. That crushes Kamara's upside, obviously. It makes Carr just a floor play. Taysom's very exciting. I think he can keep getting away
He was
with that.
already a cheat code, but then he started catching passes.
Yes.
That changed
that
everything.
too. He's
Yeah.
running routes. Yeah.
That changed everything. For me, talk about encores for Josh Dobbs. I would love to see what C.J. Stroud does for an encore. Record-setting performance last week against the Buccaneers. Now he gets the Bengals, and I wonder if he could kind of Joe Burrow in this game because he's very Joe Burrow-like.
Sure.
He does it from the pocket, not a dual-threat quarterback that we're all in love with, but still, putting up 470 passing yards and 5 touchdowns as a traditional pocket passer. He is QB3 this year behind Allen and Hurts as a rookie. And not only does he have a favorable matchup with the Bengals today, they can be exploited in the secondary, even with Nico Collins down. He's got a favorable schedule the rest of the way. So rookie C.J. Stroud, who just a lot of people drafted late, I'll tell you, he was the 3rd quarterback I chose in our show league. Afterthought in drafts can now win you leagues, Matthew.
1,000%. And if he does it today, I think this storyline, because it's one thing like, oh yeah, that was a weird game, Tampa Bay, and that was like the 5th option on the. But people are now paying attention. He's already the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And to your point, if he outplays Joe Burrow in a game in which Burrow doesn't have T. Higgins and has a 50-50 Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is expected to play, but probably not at 100%. Right. Meanwhile, here comes C.J. Stroud with no Nico Collins. If he manages to beat Joe Burrow or at least statistically outperform him, to the eye test looks better.
Or just go toe-to-toe with him.
Just go toe-to-toe with him 100%. I mean, I wonder, this is a football discussion, I wonder if the success of C.J. Stroud causes changes in Carolina. Because right now, I mean, it's unfair to judge 10 games in, but I mean, it just looks so bad that Carolina traded up and just. We love Bryce, but like he ain't C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is balling out in a way.
It's funny you said it. I was literally just with the Panthers this past week for Thursday Night Football.
Yeah,
a couple of things. They have zero regrets, and obviously you wouldn't expect them to say anything else.
Of course.
But they have zero regrets about which quarterback they chose. What they do recognize is that they have not positioned Bryce Young to succeed in terms of his receiving core, the offensive line, the inconsistent philosophies on offense in terms of play calling. All of those things have to improve in order for Bryce Young to fully thrive. What is interesting is that if you ask the Panthers honestly, they'll tell you that if you switch positions, they believe that Bryce Young would be thriving if Bryce Young had what C.J. Stroud has. Well, I'm glad you said that. Because coming into the season, nobody would have said that about the Houston Texans supporting cast.
Exactly.
So don't take away anything from what C.J. Stroud is doing.
I'll say this too. I think they're all rookies. Like, let them play a year.
Fair enough.
C.J. Stroud is just performing at a historical level, so it makes you look at the other rookies like, I don't know. Like, had not Anthony Richardson got hurt, he was playing well, but not at this level C.J. Stroud
Perspective is important.
Now, I mean, just a week and a half ago, the Panthers beat the Texans. He outplayed C.J. Stroud that day.
Right.
So I say that to say this. That doesn't mean Bryce Young's better than him this year. That means just let these young dudes
half a season.
Just means let them keep playing. That's it.
I like that. Joe Burrow or C.J. Stroud, Matthew?
That's what's crazy. This is a real question.
With the receivers hurt.
With the receivers hurt, I have Burrow at 2. I have Stroud at 6. I'm still going with Burrow here. I think it's just a longer track record. Again, I get it. I get the real question here as well. And by the way, Bengals are almost 6-point favorites here, so you could see like a heavy Joe Mixon game in the second half. I think it is a coin flip question, which is why Big Papa, I think, is asking this question. But you know what, Big Papa? It's one of those things. It's like I always go back to this.
He loves it when you call him Big Papa.
Of course. Listen, what I would say is this: I always think, Michael and I talk about this, like fantasy football, as much as it is statistically based, and you want to play it without emotion. The fact is that it's an emotional game we play, and I feel like that if Joe Burrow goes off on your bench, and C.J. Stroud, has a dud, you can be like, what was I thinking? Why did I bench Joe Burrow? But if you start Joe Burrow and C.J. Stroud goes off on your bench, but Burrow does anything, you're like, what are you going to do? Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It is a coin flip, and I get the answer. And honestly, I don't think you can screw it up because I do think both guys wind up with good games today. We saw Trent Irwin have a nice game when he's substituted for T. Higgins.
Yep.
I'm going with Joe Burrow ultimately.
All it says, it speaks to what C.J. Stroud is doing now.
Yeah.
This is an actual
Any strong
question.
disagreements, guys?
No. You drafted Burrow not to bench him.
I got Burrow at 2 this week.
Yeah.
I got Stroud at 5. So, it checks out. Even without T. Higgins, possibly Jamar Chase, it's Joe Burrow, and like you said, the track record speaks for
Bengals
itself.
are really pass heavy, the pass heaviest team in the red zone this year. So I think Burrow has some touchdown based floor there.
But Big Papa, I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of weeks for you to start C.J. Stroud, like I mentioned, with that remaining schedule and the way this offense is clicking right now. All right, time to get into some burning questions. We had a tough enough time getting Lawrence in the picture. Denny, I don't know,
Come on,
if we
man.
superimpose your face or Photoshop your face on Jay's.
Oh, there
we
it
go.
is. Hey,
All right,
I'll take
perfect.
it.
Where you at, Jay?
You know what? What
Jay's
the hell am I
boondoggling.
wearing? What am I wearing? Like, it's like
You wearing a blouse.
game blouses, right? I don't know what that is, man.
It's the Western version of the puffy shirt.
Okay.
That's what that is.
All right.
Seinfeld.
That's,
Yeah, little Seinfeld.
Yeah.
We'll live with that.
I mean, I'd wear that.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, switch up.
That's
switch
an
up.
insult, by the way.
All right.
You don't want Denny's fashion
First
sense.
burning question. We start with the Giants and Cowboys. We know what happened. We like to forget what happened. At least if you, the Giants should like to forget what happened. The first time these two teams played. We've been talking about Tony Pollard for a while and whether or not he was going to break out, at least break out as the feature back this season with the Cowboys. What is that, 2 RB1 finishes this year, something like that?
been bad.
Early in the
It's
season.
been bad.
But he's your RB5 this week, saying this is the week that you get what you invested in when you look into
1,000%. Like you weren't here on Friday for Fantasy Football Happy Hour, but Connor Rogers' best bet. We do pickup lines where they try to pick me up with a best bet. His pickup line was Tony Pollard gets into the end zone twice today, and that was the one I chose. That's the one I went home with
So
as
you all
well.
in.
I like it. Look, here's the thing. Just when he sees more than 15 touches this year, he's been very good, 18.6 fantasy points per game. Can he get those kind of touches? I think so against the Giants. Teams that faced New York this year, averaging 27 running back touches per game. In a game in which Tommy DeVito has started, we don't think the Giants are going to be able to move the ball that often. I think there's going to be some turnovers. I think the Cowboys will have good field position all this year. Every running back that sees at least 15 touches against the Giants, and again, they average over 27 running back touches a game against. Every running back to see at least 15 touches against the Giants this year has scored a touchdown. I'm buying Connor Rogers' call. Not just one, but 2 touchdowns for Tony Pollard at plus money on DraftKings as well. He's my running back 5. Wouldn't be shocked if he finishes his RB1 today.
Denny, my only concern is whether those running back touches go to Rico Dowdle.
Exactly.
Because the
That's
Cowboys
exactly
They are talking him up. They are talking him
Well, no,
up.
because the Cowboys defense has scored 2
I know.
touchdowns.
Right. It'll be a 35-point game in the third quarter, and they're not going to want to play Pollard. Yeah, so all that to say, Rico Dowdle scores twice today, obviously.
It's obviously going to happen.
I mean, I will say Dowdle, it's a cute play. It may be too cute. But for a deep league, you could do way worse, and anticipating just crazy game script here.
If you were, if you wanted to punt in a GPP on DraftKings, for example, Dowdle's dirt cheap, obviously, spend up elsewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, simple as this. The Giants is one of only 3 teams to allow double-digit touchdowns to running backs this season. That's 10. That's behind Carolina and Indy. And also note, too, Pollard did have a touchdown called back this last week. So if it's going to happen, it's got to happen against these New York Giants.
It really does.
Is Dietz Beats crazy to consider starting Tank Dell over Saquon in his flex spot? He already has Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones as his running backs, Matthew.
Yeah, look, for whatever it's worth, by the way, my ranks, I would have Saquon over Aaron Jones. So I actually would start there. So to me, I think the question is Tank Dell versus Aaron Jones for you, Dietz Beats. And you're off to a good start. Jonathan Taylor has the lone touchdown in the game going on right now. Normally we're like, hey, just watch us on the second screen. But I got to be honest with you. Like, you can just watch us on the main screen. Like, I promise you, ain't nothing happening in Germany other than some brats.
Going on with the rent.
Yeah.
A lot of punting.
A lot of punting. Michael Pittman got screwed too. But here's what I would say. You are not crazy, Dietz Beats. Tank Dell has a great matchup. He has been red hot. No Nico Collins. Having said that, it is not something I would do. I would start Aaron Jones. We finally saw the workload. Again, I'm telling you that if it were me, I would have Taylor and Saquon in my running back spots. And I think your question is more Tank Dell versus Aaron Jones. But either way, however you place it, I just think the workload that's guaranteed for both Saquon and we expect from Aaron Jones. We saw his best performance. He got over 20 touches last week. I'm going with Aaron Jones. I do think it's getting a little too cute with Tank Dell there.
It's cute, but if it's PPR, I think I have to go Dell over Saquon.
Wow.
Because
Matchup we just talked about.
yeah, I think that this Cowboys defense can just wipe away any fantasy value, any fantasy prospects that the Giants have, including Saquon. I saw someone on local New York media saying, take the over on Saquon's yards and catches and everything. I would take unders on all of those because I don't think that this Cowboys defense will allow him to do that. Of course, they're going to focus on Saquon. Who else?
He's averaged 27 touches since he came back from the injury, and it's like, what else can the Giants do? Like, they got nowhere to turn. Like this.
It might be 2.8 yards per carry,
right?
but volume gets him
He's
there.
a volume guy.
Yeah, he's averaging 27 touches and 110 yards. That's not a good average, right? But it's the 110 yards is all right.
I'm just thinking, you take away 25% target share for Nico Collins. That's a big chunk of the targets there. I think Tank Dell could easily be in double-digit targets today against Cincinnati.
Yeah, he could. Yeah,
he could. I think it's weirdly. Thinking about Cincinnati, I think it's a huge Dalton Schultz game. And that one, they're brutal against tight ends.
You got to start him. If you have him, I know last week was great. You're probably starting him anyway.
Yeah.
But just make sure you keep him in your lineup.
Well, wait a minute. Let me sneak one in here. Let me sneak a question in here. All right, I could do that.
Hang on. So Deets Beats, I think what we're doing, it's no, I was just going to say,
okay.
just to answer this question, I think Lawrence and I you're benching Tank Dell. Denny is start Tank Dell over Saquon. So it's 2-1 Deets Beats.
But you're starting Saquon over Aaron Jones.
I am, correct.
And you still benching Tank Dell over Jones in the flex?
I'm going with the 3 running backs. Again, you are correct. Generally speaking, in terms of my analysis, I am much more a volume guy. And I agree with Denny. Like, again, this is another one that I don't think you can screw up because I do like Tank Dell quite a bit. You guys know it. Like, Tank Dell's going to be a thing. I've been saying it since August. I think the volume of those 3 guys, I just don't want to miss out on it. And I could see Cincinnati trying to take Tank Dell out. Again, if Stroud is off, I mean, Tank Dell is such a big play dependent guy so far.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we're going to get more into this game from the Bengals side, but real quick, since you're talking about the Texans pass catchers,
Yes,
my
sir.
girl Taylor Rooks wants to know Jordan Addison or Noah Brown?
Jordan Addison or Noah Brown?
Yeah.
I love Taylor, by the way. Say hi.
Will do.
I'm going to go with Jordan
says
Addison.
Hi.
Addison. Yeah.
I would say Addison.
Okay.
He went 5 for 52 last week, and now is with Dobbs just coming in.
Learning the playbook during timeouts.
Yeah. T.J. Hawkinson a little banged up too. K.J. Osborne not likely to play.
Yeah.
Definitely, I would go Addison. Noah Brown, like that might have been a career day if I can remember correctly.
I'll say I don't think it's a crazy. I'll say it. I don't think it's a crazy question. I do think Noah Brown is kind of an interesting streamer if you are looking. You're looking around because of no Nico Collins. Yeah. He'll play the slot. And again, the middle of the field against Cincinnati. It's why they struggle against tight ends as well. And so Noah Brown, I think, is interesting. I think. When in situations like that where it's kind of a little bit of a coin flip, I just go with a more talented player, and all due respect to Noah Brown, I think Jordan Addison is a better NFL player.
Yeah.
And I think
he's also their wide receiver 1.
He's their number 1 target. Hawkinson's a bit banged up as well, so I do think Addison gets more looks because Noah Brown is at best their 3rd option after Tank Dell and Schultz today.
All right, let's focus on the Bengals side of this matchup here. We mentioned no T. Higgins, as you should know by now. Jamar Chase, there's been reports of him being 50-50. If he does play, and this is why I assume Matthew has him as wide receiver 1, beyond just being Jamar Chase, is when T. Higgins doesn't play, Jamar Chase eats even more. So we'll see just how hampered, if at all, Jamar Chase is with that back injury. But let's say Chase goes, and we'll find out about 6 minutes from now. Let's say Chase is up, and let me know if y'all see anything online about whether or not he's
not seeing anything yet.
Okay. But Higgins is, in fact, out. Who steps up for T. Higgins? Is it another guy that I happen to have in my starting lineup, Matthew?
Probably knowing you. Listen, Tyler Boyd, when he's gotten at least 7 targets this season, we expect this to be a pass-heavy offense. You heard Denny mention how pass-heavy they get in the red zone. He's averaging over 10 points a game, Tyler Boyd is, when he sees at least 7 points. And then on the other hand, Trenton Irwin, right? Week 5, when T. Higgins was out, that was the game, by the way, that Chase had 3 touchdowns, over 52 fantasy points, just a monster game. But even in that game where Jamar Chase went 15 for 192 and 3 touchdowns, Trenton Irwin still was wide receiver 22 that week, 8 for 60 on 10 targets, played 77% of the snaps. He had a 23% target share as well. So I think Trenton Irwin, who's,
starting.
believe it or not, my wide receiver 43. So I mean, like, let's, like
do
for you
this.
in your
do this.
20-team league.
No, it's in your league. It's in the show league. It's in this show's league. I'm starting them this week.
I'm in first place in that league, so I don't pay attention to the,
Understood.
the riffraff,
Understood.
as it were.
The rest of the peasants among us. Yeah.
Obviously. But I have Boyd at wide receiver 25, so I'm as a flex, and I have Irwin as kind of a deeper sleeper.
Yeah, and if they're without Jamar Chase and he's limited in any fashion, the rookie Andre Yoshevich, he's got 2 touchdowns this season. For what it's worth, he would be that next receiver behind Trent Irwin. That's at least how they've played it so far. And that's a name that you should only think about if Chase doesn't play.
But I will say this, and I'm going to bring this up right now so that I don't have to pronounce his last name. You did correctly. Well done. Thank you, Lawrence, for getting me off the hook there.
Andre.
But that's a guy, like, for anyone that's in a dynasty league, because I've actually seen him out there in some dynasty leagues.
2 taxi squads.
I think he's an interesting guy just because the expectation right now is that T. Higgins leaves the Bengals
Correct.
after the
Definitely.
season.
Boyd's
and
also
so
a free agent.
Boyd is too. And so we'll see if Trenton Irwin Trenton Irwin's, I want to say, like 27, 28. Like,
I mean, he's just a guy. But
he's just a guy, exactly. Oh, is it Oshevitz?
Yoshevich.
Yoshevich.
And Charlie Jones.
Charlie Jones,
Two
he'll
deep
be out
guys.
today.
But 2 deep guys in
But
dynasty.
that's another
Right,
guy.
for
He a slot receiver.
Super
He-
productive.
And they
he
may
can ball.
draft somebody as well,
Sure.
or sign somebody in free agency. But just there's going to be an opportunity opposite Jamar Chase next year because we don't
when you
expect
talk
T.
dynasty.
Higgins to come back.
Love it when you talk dynasty too.
Yeah, I know. You got a dynasty podcast, brother, so I get
In
that.
full PPR, need to start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Tank Dell, Deebo Samuel, welcome back. Alexander Madison, Tyler Boyd, or Jalen Warren.
You have him ranked correctly. It's Tank Dell and Deebo Samuel. I don't think it's particularly close either. I get the conversation with Madison, especially because the Saints basically have really struggled against the run recently, and with Cam Akers out, doesn't seem like they trust Ty Chandler. So volume could get you there on Madison. I just don't think he's all that good.
You're right.
I think to me it would be Tank Dell and Deebo Samuel for me. Those are the 2 best guys with the 2 best matchups. I think Deebo back off the bye, fully healthy. I think they try to get some stuff to get him going.
Well, and also really great fantasy environment for both Deebo and Dell today. The Bengals and Texans are have one of the highest totals, and then I like the Jags and Niners to shoot out a little bit.
Yeah, I like that call.
All right. Speaking of another potential shootout, let's move on to Lions at Chargers. Lions coming off of their bye week and welcoming back David Montgomery, who was the workhorse.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt. In steps Jahmyr Gibbs and shows that he's quite capable of carrying the load himself, Matthew. So, how do you expect the Lions to deploy these running backs? Now that both of them have shown they could be RB1s.
I think basically they're both RB2s. I think they get deployed the way people thought they were going to be deployed when they were drafting. Gibbs obviously went ahead of Montgomery in almost every draft in August with the idea that, like, we knew Montgomery was going to get the Jamal Williams stuff, but they thought it was going to be more of a 50-50 split than it started out of the season. And you're like, what? No, that wasn't happening for Gibbs, but you're not putting that genie back in the bottle. I thought Ben Johnson on Thursday had a very telling quote. Of course, the offense coordinator of the Lions, he said, quote, "Looking forward to getting Gibbs and Monty both their fair load of touches.
Yeah.
They both have proven worthy of it." I think they'll be more creative. Ben Johnson, one of the best play callers in the NFL. You'll see both guys in the backfield. I think you'll see both guys in the backfield and then, Gibbs in motion to run out of the slot or something like that. I think both guys, I think it's going to be a 50-50 split, but for our purposes, the important thing is, can I start Jahmyr Gibbs? Can I start David Montgomery? The answer is yes. Both guys are top 20 plays for me today.
Yeah, and I think it would be fair to say, Matthew, that the days are gone of, where either, like, we've seen the best of, as long as they're both healthy, we've seen the best of, the workloads that they're going to get. Like, we saw David Montgomery have a 32 carry game earlier in the season. Those days might be gone, but like you said, I think they're both correctly ranked as top 20 plays.
Guillotine flex spot question: Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, or Chris Godwin?
Because it's a guillotine, I'm going with Aaron Jones. And I know this is a bit scary as well, but I think David Montgomery comes right back. I'll just tell you. I have Aaron Jones at 12. I have Montgomery at 16. I prefer both those guys over Godwin. Again, all three have nice floors, which is what you're looking for in Guillotine, but because it's Montgomery's first game back, because the Chargers have occasionally been a pretty good run defense this year, I feel better about Aaron Jones in this one.
Well, importantly, Aaron Jones got the inside of the 10 touches last week instead of A.J. Dillon, which is great, honestly, from both a real football perspective and fantasy football. It wasn't working. It wasn't whatever they were trying with A.J. Dillon wasn't working. He was largely phased out in the second half. I think we continue to see a lot more Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Chargers 4th against the run over the last 4 weeks, whereas Pittsburgh, who Aaron Jones faces, is 21st. So unless Monty scores a touchdown, I'm a little. I am as a top 20 play. I think both guys, but I feel better about Jones and a Guillotine specifically.
I will say this about Montgomery, just food for thought. Last time he was coming off of an absence, if I recall correctly, was that 32-touch game. And he showed no signs.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. So he was. It was his first game back.
And
carried a load.
by all measurements, the Lions are one of the run heaviest teams in the league. Like they clearly want to establish a run. They will do that if they can. That's great for Montgomery, who will be the between the 20s banger and the goal line guy.
And their offensive line getting healthier too, which is also helpful as well.
Great for Brock Purdy. Helpful for Brock Purdy is the return of Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams.
Is Trent definitely coming back today?
He's trying to. It's not definite.
I don't think it's definite yet.
Reportedly is that he is trending to or expected to play. We'll certainly see in a little bit, but right now that's the direction it's headed. But we know we got Deebo Samuel back. If you are a 49ers fan and you're looking for Brock Purdy to bounce back, coming off a bye, he said the bye was great for him mentally and physically. Can we trust him now? You got him inside your top 10 as a QB1 here.
He's run at least 20 routes in games in which he's run at least 20 routes this season. We expect a fully healthy Deebo Samuel in a high-scoring environment to run at least 20 routes. Okay, right? In games in which he's run at least 20 routes, he's got a 25% target share. Since week 5, Jags give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. I think Ayuk and Deebo both have nice games today. I think Brock Purdy gets back to being, he made my love list as well on others receiving votes. I think Brock Purdy is, a borderline top 12-ish play today. Yeah, so, and obviously McCaffrey's McCaffrey. I think my nervousness here would be Kittle. Kittle be the guy I'm the most nervous about because I think they'll use him to block and that his numbers when everyone else is healthy have been inconsistent.
Yeah, and just in this case, I think the numbers may just tell the story. In 12 games for Brock Purdy with Deebo, 17 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions. In the 5 games without him, 8 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So his loss was felt in those past 3 games. So let's go Deebo, let's go Purdy.
Yeah, also, George Kittle has traditionally been a great target commander, a guy who's just constantly targeted on limited routes, or somewhat limited routes for an elite tight end. That's not the case this year, especially with Deebo on the field. So you got to be careful with how you use him.
With Deebo this season, just a 17% target share for Kittle compared with 24% without Deebo as well. Averages with Deebo on the field, he averages under 12 fantasy points per game.
Are you starting Dalton Schultz over Kittle?
I am.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Let's take a question in here before we start taking some shots.
Yeah, so take some questions before we take some.
Yes, main screen, baby. Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
There you go.
Let's go. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, Mark. We appreciate it.
We have made more points on this show than they've scored in Germany.
Damn.
Easily.
Already. We ain't even a half hour in.
By far.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. Well done, Mark. Well done.
All right,
Mark, you're winning today. I guarantee it.
Mark is living right. He's living right.
Let's take some shots. Let's celebrate Mark. And, all of our fine viewers on YouTube and here on Peacock with some shots. Denny, you want to lead us off?
Yes. All right. Look, I talked on Friday's show about Evan Ingram, and I really tried to get Matthew to go along with Evan Ingram over 5.5 receptions. I thought I laid out a great case. Matthew said no.
For whatever it's worth, I put Evan Ingram into my DraftKings lineup today. So just so you know,
there you go.
My DFS DraftKings.
All right, so it worked on some level.
It did.
So
I listened to you.
I say Evan Ingram, and this is after I just talked up Taysom Hill, so I don't know what I'm doing. But Evan Ingram leads all tight ends in scoring today because I really think the Jags are going to have to lean very heavily on the pass in this game. The Niners are an extreme pass funnel defense, and they get exploited in the middle of the field. That's Ingram's territory.
All right. Well, now you got to take a shot.
I'll
David.
take the shot.
Jaguars one.
Take your Jaguar
Because
shot.
we had
Jag
somebody
shot.
that worked really hard to put that sticker on
See,
there.
there's
you
a
go.
Jaguars logo.
There you go.
See,
Our
there you go.
producer, Steven,
Yeah.
this is for you, man.
Saved over that.
By the way, we could use a vodka sponsor, by the way. Right now, this is generic.
Because you're
so
really lacking in that area.
I'm just
aren't you?
saying. I'm just
Really lacking
listen,
I need that. Yeah.
I want to make some money for the company. I'm a company man.
for the company.
Yeah.
Matthew, you're up.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. There you go. I got a little Seahawks one. DK Metcalf will have his best fantasy game of the season. This is a guy who leads the NFL in red zone and end zone targets, but has only 2 touchdowns despite leading the NFL in end zone targets. Of course, my Commanders allow the second most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. It is a get-right game for Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett, but especially DK Metcalf, who's wide receiver 1. He's going to be a top 10 play. Give me DK to score a TD,
All right,
at least one.
Lawrence, what it do?
All right, so this is what it do, baby. The Bengals have allowed an average of 316.3 passing yards in their last 3 games. They're the 11th worst pass defense. I say, we was talking about C.J. Stroud earlier. I say he throws for at least 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he leads the Texans to the upset win. Pour me up early, baby. C.J. Stroud, let's go.
All right. For me, I'm going to that game. I'm going with those Bengals receivers we just talked about. Give me a touchdown reception each for Trent Irwin and the pride of Princeton, Andre Yoshibas.
Yeah.
Both of them will catch a touchdown from Joe Burrow
I like that.
because that's just Joe. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, Yoshibas already got 2 touchdowns this year.
Joe is
He's
Joe.
good.
One each.
I like that.
All right.
All right, Denny,
So
you're
we're on
up.
to round 2.
Yep.
Look, we don't like it. Okay, we don't particularly love Arthur Smith on this show or any show or anywhere in the fantasy community.
Or reality.
But
that's okay.
but we have to accept something, and that is that Tyler Algier will remain the primary rusher in the green zone, inside the 10-yard line. We don't like it again. I know, I get it. I like it because I have him on my teams. But he's going to score 2 touchdowns today against the Cardinals. Cardinals are a run funnel. They're going to hammer the run today. So here we go. Here's my Falcons. My little Falcons shot glass. Algier,
Cheers.
2 touchdowns.
Cheers to Arthur Smith, right?
There you go.
Matthew, what you got?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, anyone that has Bijan Robinson is probably drinking with us right now. My second shot, I'm going to Tennessee. My guy, and by my guy, I mean somebody that they loved at the end of last year, had him as a preseason favorite, then bailed on him, and now I'm back in on Chigakonkwo. I say Chigakonkwo finishes as the top 10 tight end. He started to play more snaps, over 70% each of the last 3 weeks. Will Levis has given this offense a lift, and I love the matchup against the Buccaneers as Tampa Bay so far this year, top 5 in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. Welcome back to love, Chigakonkwo.
All right. Yes, so
All right, LJ.
here we go. Speaking of Atlanta, right? I'm not taking a shot on their behalf, but I will let you know that they are the 7th worst team against quarterbacks in fantasy. They've allowed the 4th most passing touchdowns to quarterbacks this season with 17. They're playing against Kyler Murray this week. It's his first game back in 331 days. Atlanta the 7th worst against quarterbacks. I'm saying Kyler Murray will be a top 7 quarterback in fantasy in his first game back this season. Let's go, Kyler.
From Kyler to Kyle and back to Will Levis in the Titans offense. That last time we saw Will Levis, Thursday night against Pittsburgh, feels like forever ago.
Sure.
Seemed to have a connection with Kyle Phillips. Give me 6 or 60 and 6 in the form of a touchdown for Kyle Phillips.
I love how specific that is.
Very
Yeah,
specific.
You grinded the numbers
Yeah.
there.
By the way,
6 for 6, giving a touchdown for Kyle
I'm
Phillips.
going to tune into Fantasy Football Pregame. I wonder the guy, Kyle Phillips and Chigakonkwo.
That's what we do. We go deep.
Like, not
We go
D-Hop.
deep.
Not D-Hop.
No.
Let the rest of these shows state the obvious. Okay,
exactly.
we're giving you the guys that you need to. People will be like, "Oh, how'd you hear about Kyle Phillips?"
Watch the show.
Cue that meme of the guy.
Only here.
You know what I'm saying? There you go.
All right, yeah.
All right,
So-
Denny, you're up.
Yeah, round 3.
Nick Westbrook Aquino. Come on, let's go.
You got to end it with it. You
No,
got it.
we want the short area guys. Give us Phillips and give us Chig.
Yeah.
All right, Geno Smith, very frustrating this year. He's been in the regression files piece on NBCSports.com many times this season. I refuse to give up. We are going to get a top 5 fantasy day from Geno today. I think, like you said, Matthew, DK pops here. I think Tyler Lockett has a big game. This Washington defense is bad. I think it's actually worse than we think it is. So I like Geno to be a top 5 guy this week. We don't have a Seahawks shot glass, but here's to Geno.
Well, we do, but I drained it already. So
what can you do?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, Matthew, you can keep the ball.
All right, thank you very much. Look, everyone thought Javonte Williams was going to be this superstar, then he tore his ACL, and then here comes Sean Payton, and Samaje Perine is a preseason favorite, and then Jaleel McLaughlin. Anyway, this week, Javonte Williams gets back to being that RB1 bell cow running back that he was drafted to be, expected to be. I think he's a top 10 play this week. I think he flirts with the top 5. 48 touches over the past 2 games. Buffalo allows the 5th highest yards per carry to opposing running backs. On Monday Night Football, Javonte Williams out of the bye. Huge game coming for him. Top 10 play for me.
Please.
All right.
Yeah. All
All right,
right.
what you got?
I'm going to go back to that Titans-Bucks game, except I'm going to go to the other side of it this time. Well, I'm talking quarterbacks. We know Will Levis has the good matchup against that Tampa Bay secondary, but I'm going to say Baker Mayfield, who has better overall weapons than a Kyle Phillips in a Chicago. He's got better weapons. I'm going to say he outscores Will Levis today in fantasy.
All right.
Okay.
Matthew, this one's for you. Cheers. Going back to that Seahawks-Commanders matchup. Give me a 3rd straight QB1 finish. And 5th in 6 games for Sam Howell.
Let's go.
Future Hall of Famer Sam
go.
Howell. That's his official name.
He going to throw it 40 times. You better believe it.
You know
The
that.
volume's going to
You
get
know
there.
it
It
will.
makes me nervous just because Seahawks at home in a game they must win. Their defense is pretty good.
It is.
But
It's
fine.
getting
Hey,
better.
we'll take
the
some
garbage
jump
time stats.
It's going to be some
Yeah,
garbage
yeah,
time.
hey,
That's the way he gets there.
We
It's
will
garbage
take
time.
it. All right, we come back. We'll look at some inactives. We'll look at some rankings. We'll look at some deep league ads. See, look, hey, Josh, starting
Oh, he
quarterback.
ready to ball today.
This way.
Someone had to explain to him
This
where
way to the locker room. Which way? Okay, up,
man.
up and to the right. Take a right. First
there
door
you
in the
go.
round.
I'm just glad he got into
Got
the
it.
Just
stadium.
getting some directions.
Thank you.
Yeah, by carrying the playbook, by the way. There you go, which I
man.
like.
I'm
yeah.
telling you, my
Guy's
favorite story in
studying
the
so
NFL right now. I can't wait to talk to him.
1,000%.
I cannot wait to talk to him.
1,000%. He's the best.
Professional.
Let's go.
My storyline is about a guy that's not going to play today. Keaton Mitchell. You tried to hold that in as long as you could. Is that not the most Michael thing?
Keaton Mitchell.
Well, but there's a larger point that I think you
Hang
get
on,
out.
stop for a second. Hang on for a second.
Okay,
First
all right,
off,
go ahead.
Explain to everyone who Keaton Mitchell is.
No, he's not a politician.
Right,
He
no,
plays
no,
football.
exactly.
Not
He's on the
Michael
Ravens.
Keaton. Right.
He's on the Ravens.
Okay.
He's an undrafted free agent running back.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just assumed y'all were hardcore. I'm going to give you a little more of an obscure running back.
Oh, really? On brand.
Keaton Mitchell, Amari DeMarcado, all the deep dynasty references I have made, none of them going as deep as Sean Clifford. Okay?
I don't know. Keaton Mitchell was pretty deep.
During the break, I'll have you look at the lineup, and maybe the answer is neither.
Yeah.
maybe that's the right answer.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to
Maybe it's Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah.
guy.
He's coming. He's coming.
know.
Right,
He's
like
He
Lawrence?
is.
There's still
The
time.
hammy slowed him down.
Wasn't nobody slowing him down last week, and he practiced in full on Friday. And Keaton Mitchell is up and ready for
Active.
an encore. Ready for an encore today as part of that now three-headed rotation. Good luck with that for the Baltimore Ravens.
When you watching them Baltimore and you watched that game last week, which one of them looked like the best running back?
I'm telling you, they know.
It's-
They already know what it is.
Browns, by the way, lead the league in missed tackles against running backs. So
I didn't know that.
I just want to put that out there.
did not know
The Browns
that.
have allowed a lot of chunk plays to running backs, so that's Mitchell's forte.
All right.
I'll say this: I didn't do it, but when I was going through what my shot for shots would be on the drawing board on the big board, one of them was going to be Keaton Mitchell outscores Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards, who's been as hot a running back as there is in fantasy football the last handful of weeks. I was going to say today, and I still think that. I think Keaton Mitchell has a better day than Gus Edwards, because if Gus Edwards doesn't get into the end zone, like it's under 6 fantasy points. He's not, and there's a reason why Gus Edwards made my hate list this week, which is Browns have given up 2 running back rushing touchdowns all year long.
Interesting.
I think there's
so lead the
right
league
to your
in missed
point.
tackles against running backs.
They give
but
up
only
big
2
chunk
touchdowns.
plays.
They do.
Sure.
They do. And a lot of those chunk plays end at the 1-yard line, actually. And that would set up Gus, of course, for another cheap touchdown.
this-
No, I think Lamar's been hearing the noise. I think Lamar keeps a couple of points today.
I would enjoy that.
So
if
I
he
say
would do
this
that.
selfishly, but I actually do believe it. I think there's going to be a time down the road, very soon this season, maybe not this week, when both you will be in position to start both Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell.
I'm in a
They will both be
position.
starter.
I'm in a position right now where I have Gus and Keaton Mitchell, and I'm starting Keaton Mitchell today. But I've been holding him on my roster.
Let's go.
I've been holding him on my roster for 8 weeks now. Like this is what it's for, to play him now.
Yeah.
Like I saw what I need. We all saw what we needed to see.
Saw enough.
10 touches. If he's getting 10 touches, I'll live with
And
that.
the other thing, it wasn't in garbage time. A lot of people look at that last touchdown and like, oh, it was the garbage. No, he had as many carries as anybody else in the first half. He had 4 carries.
And the reason I've been holding them for 8 weeks, because honestly, you was on them early too, Michael. But before the draft, I tweeted out a little something about Keaton Mitchell,
He
like,
deserved
hey,
a shot.
this is a guy. Then the Ravens signed him as an. I'm like. It was August 15th right here. I'm like, you guys actually let the Ravens get this dude right here? Like, this runs from the preseason. Then he got hurt. So now he's back. So what you can see is that he can do this consistently.
Yes.
So it's like, really, he should have been drafted.
Right.
But he wasn't. And you let him get with Lamar, so it's about to get ugly for opposing defense.
Between Lawrence calling it and what you saw in the preseason, even when he got hurt against your Commanders, which landed him on IR, he should have been stashed a long time ago. There's no way the secret's out now.
Well, and Monken came out this week and just talked about the fact that he's earned more touches. Keaton Mitchell, he was very impressed with his performance up there. By the way, did you notice that Lawrence's Twitter handle has a red flag? Is that correct? Did you see that?
Yeah. I'm just a red flag. Proceed with caution when when engaging with me. Red flag.
At Lord don't lose.
I ain't verified, so I got the red flag.
Got
right
it.
there.
Understood.
All right, you should have already picked up Keaton Mitchell. Let's talk about some other people who you might be looking to pick up on the wire if you're in trouble or you just want to stay a step ahead of the competition. All right, we gave Keaton Mitchell his flowers. Who else jumps out to you, Matthew?
Well, it just depends on what you need, right? So these are all guys that are available in over 50% of Yahoo leagues. Devin Singletary is the guy. If you need someone today, again, Dameon Pierce officially inactive. He should get the majority of the work. He had 83% of the Texans running back touches last week as well. It's worth noting that the Bengals the Bengals, are not great.
They're okay. Against
They're
the run.
okay. They're good against the
great,
run,
though.
but like Singletary's been used a lot. I think Charbonnet is interesting as kind of a stash just because they've been talking him up a little bit. He's led the backfield in snaps each of the past 2 weeks. I still think Walker gets his today. McLaughlin out of the bye, I could just see them using him more. Again, Sean Payton always has a pet. You already heard me talk about the fact that I think Javonte Williams has a big game here, but McLaughlin they'll use somewhat on the on passing downs. Listen, none of them are great names.
No.
We already touched on. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say on Singletary, only 7 running backs had more pass routes last week than Singletary.
Right.
So if he can get involved in that passing game, he doesn't have to be super sensitive to game
You
script.
want a piece of C.J. Stroud's attack any way you can get it,
Right.
including Noah Brown. We talked about him. We talked about Trenton Irwin and for T. Higgins. I'm starting Khalil Shakir
for sure.
on Monday night.
I will say this, the Curtis Samuel's practiced in a limited fashion 3 straight days. He plays the slot for the Commanders. We just talked about the fact that we expect a lot of junk time. Seattle really struggles against the slot. And so I could see, I'm a little nervous about Jahan Dotson because a lot of his production has come the last couple of weeks with Samuel out and Samuel back. I just think Samuel is kind of an interesting guy, and we already talked up Trenton Irwin as well. Chargers-Lions should be a shootout, and as long as Josh Palmer is out, Quentin Johnson, starting to get him, he comes inside our top 50.
All right, and on to quarterback, tight end, potential streamers. Welcome back from the bye, Russell Wilson, just outside of Matthew's top 10. You ain't got to love him. You ain't got to watch the games, as you like to say. Just got to watch the points.
Bills have allowed at least 19 fantasy points to each of the last 3 quarterbacks they've faced, and it's been kind of a mixed bag. They're 3 straight games with 6 or more targets for Cade Otton. And then you see Jonnu Smith, again, double-digit fantasy points for the past 6 games. He's getting goal line carries.
He gets it at the one more than Bijan Robinson.
He really does. Like, you might as well take advantage of irrational coaching when it comes to Jonnu Smith.
When you play in the Falcons, you better prepare to stop Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get some questions here. It's been a while since we've heard from the viewers to the hashtag FF Pregame. First up, I'm waiting for the chime here.
Okay.
In a minute here.
There we go.
Hey, what's up, man?
Question from Frankfurt.
What's
All
up,
right.
Dev?
Dev
to see you, man.
listen,
At the
I get
game,
it.
okay.
This is how bad the game is. He's there, and he's still tweeting us, asking for our opinion here, which makes total sense. He wants to know, he needs 1 wide receiver in a flex, JSN, Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, Evan Ingram, hashtag FF Pregame. That is your boy, Denny. Evan Ingram.
And if we have any graphics issues today, that's because Dev decided to call out and go to go to Germany to watch this 10-6 barn burner.
Yeah, 100%.
Rep for Mac Jones.
I'm going Addison and Dell. I get it with Evan Ingram. I know you love him, but I'm going Addison and Dell, especially with KJ Osborne out.
I mean, I like him, but he's still a tight end. So I'm good with Addison and Dell.
You
there.
go with the top 2 targets of their offenses today. So.
All right, Deb. The answer is Addison and Tank Dell. Good luck.
Right. We got any more questions?
Fly home safe.
Okay.
All right. I think it's time for Prop a Shot.
No, we got another question.
Do we?
Yeah.
Oh, we're slow on them today.
A little bit,
What's going on?
because Dev's not here.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're a little shorthanded, yeah.
I understand.
jingle.
Okay.
All right, Jake Southwell wants to know, I need to fill in the tight end and flex spots. Recommend between Sam Laporta, Taysom Hill, Bijan Robinson, or Garrett Wilson. Thinking of starting Laporta and Hill, and I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, that ain't crazy.
I mean,
Well, you got to start Taysom.
Right.
I mean, you have to. None of these guys are going to get that opportunity, that sort of touchdown opportunity here. So Taysom, I mean, Garrett Wilson has over 12 targets in 3 straight games. I mean, that's
and
insane.
at least 80
volume.
yards in those games.
Right, and I mean, nothing much is happening, but we love the targets and we love the routes. So I actually would go with Taysom and Garrett Wilson.
all right. Fair enough.
What about you, Matthew?
I probably would not have. I get it with Garrett Wilson. I think I'm still starting Bijan Robinson. I get it. This is one that would drive me crazy. It is, you're hoping for rational coaching, but as we talked about, Arizona's a run funnel defense. I do think Bijan Robinson is just too talented. It's just too good of a matchup. I get it. It's been super frustrating here as well. Honestly, I'm nervous about Garrett Wilson because I'm nervous about that game tonight. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and I think Max Crosby is going to be all over Zach Wilson.
Total.
I feel better about Bijan Robinson's chances of getting into the end zone than I do Garrett Wilson.
I get that. Yeah, no, I'm actually banking on no touchdown for Garrett Wilson, but I think that he can get there just based on volume. I mean, he's the only. Him and Breece Hall could combine for like 30 plus touches tonight.
Kelly listened, and he's had Tyjae Spears for at least 4 weeks. Is this the week to play him? His other choice is Jerome Ford, who got a lot of route participation last week, FYI. Also, Stroud over Herbert. Herbert's burned him the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I get that, but again, that's such a shootout game against the Lions. I'm still going with. I'll tell you right now how close it is, though. I mean, I have Herbert at 5 and Stroud at 6, so it really is a coin flip. But I do have Herbert one spot higher, so I get it with him. If you're sick of him, you want to go with Stroud. I get that, but I would probably go with Herbert. I'm going to go with Jerome Ford. I get it. It's a tough matchup against Baltimore, and we love Tajay Spears, who once again outsnapped Derrick Henry last week. But Ford actually, if you look at the underlying metrics, Ford actually overtook the Browns' backfield last
25
week.
touches, wasn't
yeah,
it?
exactly, against Kareem Hunt. I get it. It's a tough matchup with Baltimore, but for me, I'm still going Jerome Ford.
I think that Ford based on volume.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not a. None of this is ideal.
Yeah, he hasn't been good, but he could easily see 18 touches today.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever it's worth, I have Ford at 27, and who was
Spears.
it was Ford or Ford?
Tajay Spears.
Right, I have Ford at 27. I have Spears at 30. So again,
It's very
it's
close.
close.
Call,
We understand
yeah.
the question. I'm going with Ford and Herbert.
I love it when the questions coincide with how close the rankings are. It really goes to show that it's,
I love it because listen, I rank 250 players every single week, so I haven't got them memorized. So and we don't see the questions ahead of time. They come in live, obviously, as you guys tweet us, and so I'm always excited when my instincts are and then I've look at my rankings oh yeah, good, I did. Yep, that's exact. My
validation.
thinking's validation. Yeah. So there you go.
We also have a very sophisticated audience here.
That's
at Fantasy
true.
Football Pregame. All right,
We do.
unsophisticated is proper shot, mainly because we get like the lowest completion percentage
We're brutal.
above expected.
Bunch
for yourself.
bunch of Desmond Ritter.
Don't nothing
For
but picks over.
yourself.
You hit
I'm 3 or 4 the last 4 weeks. The
Stop
tape is out there.
No,
I literally
That's
just
not
believe
posted
that.
it.
You are
I
not
don't
three
believe
out of
that.
four.
Just posted
You
it
hit
the other
3 out
day.
of 4?
Yes, and one was with my left, and I'm gonna do it again.
Oh, stop
Really?
it! A bunch of AI, a bunch of
Yeah.
That
fake
really
news.
happened?
That was edited.
It's fake news.
Wow.
Completely
Yeah,
fake
we all
news.
You
can
go
watch
first,
it.
Mr. 75%. You go first.
Yeah, let's go, Heineke. Let's see
Lefty.
what you got.
Oh man.
That's trash.
Did
But like
we
that's
go
bad for me right there though. Like
Yeah.
All right, where am I going? I'm
It was
going
Desmond Ritter.
Not the red one.
not the red one.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Denny,
Got
there you
one.
go.
1 for 1, never
You're
come
up.
back
You're up.
again.
No, I haven't stopped.
You're always under
Look
pressure.
at me, I'm always under
You're
pressure.
like
I'm-
Sam
yeah,
Howell. You're like Sam Howell.
You got a little pass.
Hey,
I almost caught it off the ricochet like Amari Cooper.
Yeah, brutal.
Oh, man.
Brutal.
I'll give you guys
What's your
lessons
percentage?
later.
Seriously. like,
Mine is brutal.
You're under
Mine-
pressure
I am.
percentages. Yeah.
All right, at
a
least I
little
hit
bit
the
better.
green
All
thing
right,
that time.
okay,
Good
not
God.
bad. All right,
Freaking
we're going to do
bad.
better when it comes to these props.
Here's what's weird is that, and I know it doesn't seem like it because I'm so awful, but like if you get me to to UBQB or 2 Minute Blitz, the actual stand-up game,
Yeah.
I'm
You got it.
actually really good at that when I'm standing in the pocket. Like I'm
believe you.
actually fairly
You can
accurate.
you can step
but here
into
I'm
it.
just like
Yeah.
I'm
A lot
in
of
a
quarterbacks
seat
don't
and
like
I'm
pressure
like,
in their face. You know what
I
I mean?
once saw
Right
you
up the
I
middle,
can't
you
extend
know?
because otherwise I'll hit you in the face.
No, I get it, which
Yeah.
wouldn't be bad television.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Proper
sweeps.
shot. Let's go. Denny,
Yes.
first up, does Austin Eckler's receptions go over or under 4.5?
I'm going to go over because I like the Chargers to just pass today. I actually think that they will all but abandon the run early in this game against a tough Detroit run defense. They are a pass funnel that'll lead to a lot of routes, hopefully a lot of targets for Eckler.
All right. Lawrence, your man Josh Dobbs, not any of those names and where the locker room is. Passing yards over under 206.5.
I mean, did you see how he walked in? New Orleans is a top 7 pass defense, but they've given up the over on this number their last 2 games against Tyson Bagent and Gardner Minshew. Furthermore, this is just a fun stat. Josh Dobbs has hit this number every other game as a pattern, and now he's in week 10. He's due to hit it again. I'm going over.
All right. Matthew, Aaron Jones is freed. Rushing yards over under 53.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the over here. 73 rushing yards last week against the Rams, so he just blew past this number. Steelers have allowed 60 rushing yards to a running back in 3 straight games, and so Aaron Jones, who is in line for a big workload, goes over 53.5 rushing yards today.
Denny, back to you. Kyler Murray, passing and rushing yards over under 253.5.
I'm going to go over, and I think it's going to be mostly through the air. I don't see Kyler doing his regular thing on the ground, but I think that he can do it through the air against this Falcons defense. I like the over.
Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, yards from scrimmage, over under 100.5.
Gonna get a lot of receptions, but the Jags have only given this up once in the last 4 games. They're a top 5 run defense, and furthermore, CMC has only done this once in his last 4 games, so they're getting in the end zone, but I'm gonna go under for the yards.
Matthew, Sam Howell, passing yards, over under 258.5.
I'm going over 258.5 passing yards for future Hall of Famer Sam Howell. Look, 5 of the past 6 games, he's had at least 40 passing attempts. They're a 6-point underdog on the road at Seattle. We expect them to have to throw. And 3 of the 4 quarterbacks that have attempted at least 35 passes against Seattle have thrown for over 300 yards. Again, he's averaging 40 or more, and all you need is 35 to get to over 300 against Seattle. Give me over 258.
Denny, Travis Etienne, rushing yards, over under 65.5.
I'm going over. He has not been super efficient. I get that. But the Jaguars have been balanced lately because he's been doing well. They've been kind of keeping it on the ground, being a little bit conservative. Also, the Niners' run defense, I've looked into the numbers, guys, very strongly this week. They're not good. They're not good against the run. I feel like I thought that they were, but the Niners are exploitable on the ground. I think ETN gets well over that 61.
Chase Young, looking forward to see what he's got coming off of this bye. All right, Lawrence, you asked for it. We talked about Kyle Phillips and Chig Okonkwo. Your man DeAndre Hopkins receiving yards, over under 62.5.
Well, I'm going to go under because I have faith in y'all. You know what I'm saying? Chig, Kyle Phillips, they going to do
Everybody
it
can
today.
eat.
Furthermore, he went 60 yards. Yeah, he went 60 yards on 4 catches, but 11 targets to get 60 yards versus Pittsburgh. That's not a good pass defense. I'm going to go under this game.
Matthew, Gus Edwards rushing yards, over under 47.5.
I'm going under. Look, Browns allow the 8th fewest yards per carry this season. We talked up Keaton Mitchell as well. You'll see enough Justin Hill to be annoying here. I don't think Gus Edwards gets there against a Browns defense that is just so good defensively. So, yeah, give me the under on 47.5.
Denny, Joe Burrow's passing attempts, over under 37.5.
Give me the over. The Bengals refuse to run the ball.
All right, great and simple. Short and sweet. I love it. Lawrence, Trey McBride receiving yards, coming from Kyler Murray, over under 43.5.
You said it coming from Kyler Murray. He's only hit this twice this season, but Atlanta has tied for the league in most receptions allowed to tight end, so he's going to have opportunities. I'm going to actually go over for Trey McBride.
All right, and Matthew, Saquon Barkley's rushing attempts, over under 16.5.
I'm going over here. He's had at least 17 rushing attempts in 4 of the past 5. I get it. It's Dallas. They're not going to be able to move the ball. It might be 17 attempts for literally 0.5 yards. But I just don't think they want Tommy DeVito dropping back that much. I think they will continue. I think you'll see some Matt Breida as well, but give me the over 16.5 rushing yards.
All right, this segment is over because DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and today new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. We're getting deeper
Speaking
into
of
these
Tommy
rankings
DeVito,
coming back.
they might need to sub me in because here it is, the lefty.
Arm talent.
That's
the
Arm
film.
talent.
I'm not left-handed. I'm right-handed though. Oh, we
there
hit
it
them
is.
too.
Wait, that's really.
That's real life. That's
Wait,
you,
this is
Michael.
really the
Oh,
This is really the
That's-
last several weeks.
that's I said 3
I
out
see
of
di-
4.
I see different t-shirts.
I strategically
Yeah.
didn't put the one I missed.
But I see different T-shirts, so it's like that's
I
legit.
come to play, man. Sunday is game day, fellas.
Yeah.
Can I be honest about my throw? I wasn't aiming for that hole.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to mention that.
None of us aim for
Don't
that.
mention
We're
that.
trying to get in the general vicinity.
I should
Wow,
be in
Lawrence.
this game with the Colts right now.
You wouldn't have thrown that awful interception Mac Jones just threw a minute ago.
Exactly right. This is a
Joe Burrow, always crispy, always icy. Shout out to Pops with the Montreal Alouettes jersey. Nice little throwback there.
Very random.
For Joe Burrow. Okay. Joe Burrow comes in at number 2 in your quarterback rankings behind Josh Allen. But I want to focus in on number 7. Okay. My guy.
Yeah.
My guy, Matthew.
Really? Your guy.
I told you about him last year.
Primarily,
Check the tape.
Michael's guy.
I told you about him last year.
Somebody
go pull the tape of
Someone
last
pull
year
the tape.
when he was still putting on for Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke.
Oh, boy.
Go pull the tape from last year.
That tape's going to be
Pull
bad.
it.
Pull the tape from last year.
That's right.
Pull the tape. I
Fine.
told you about Sam Howell, but tell me about Sam Howell.
So,
Because
I mean,
that's legitimately your quarterback.
I remember talking about. I know he's a future Hall of Famer. And I talked last time. I was just like, they needed. I literally said this in the middle of last year, like why they aren't playing Sam Howell every single game and just see what they have in him. We're not going anywhere this year, but no, they kept insisting on playing Carson Wentz and got Scott Turner fired, and now it's going to get Ron Rivera fired.
Reminds me of my favorite saying as we debate over who was first on Sam Howell. Success has many parents.
Yes.
Failure is an orphan.
Failure is an orphan.
So we all on the Sam Howell.
Right.
Taking credit for Sam Howell.
Ron Rivera didn't even know who he was. He said later, why didn't anybody tell me about this kid? No one said he was good. How does Ron Rivera not know that?
How did the quarterbacks on his team? Don't get me started on Ron.
It is
here's what I will tell you about Sam Howell. Since week 4, he's the 5th best quarterback in fantasy. Like, it's not like, he's had a good week or two. Since week 4, he is the 5th best quarterback in fantasy football as well. We've talked about this. At least 40 attempts in 5 of the past 6 games. We expect the Commanders to have to throw as 6-point underdogs on the road at Seattle as well. And again, said this earlier, but 3 of the 4 quarterbacks that have attempted at least 35 passes against the Seahawks have gotten over 300 yards. He's averaging over 40 a game. He also gives you some, it's been inconsistent, but he has the ability to get you points with his legs as well. Give me Sam Howell as a top 7 quarterback today against the Seahawks.
Before we move on, to quote Ray Lewis, I'm going to talk about for real football. Notice this fantasy show, talk about for real football. I really would love your thoughts on this. Like, Sam Howell as the end of this revolving door at quarterback for the Commanders. Are you feeling it? I mean, because really, he's only a halfway through his first season as a starter. Have you seen enough to believe that he could be the long-term answer for real? He's a viable fantasy quarterback, but for real.
Yes, I do. I do think so. I also think you have to take into consideration, once again, the Commanders are going to be picking like 15th or 16th. They're not going to be in the Caleb Williams, Drake May sweepstakes. They're not going to get anyone, quote unquote, good. Whoever it is a project. And I'd rather there have been enough flashes of like, okay, that throw was pretty great. He's tough as hell. He's taken so many hits. Like, I think Sam Howell has enough of a swagger that I wouldn't mind whoever the new coach is, because I don't think Rivera is surviving this year. Give them a chance with it. So there you go.
All right. Is Royce crazy for starting Sam Howell over Lamar Jackson? Oh, Lawrence, you got to take this one.
Yeah, no, you're not crazy. We talked about it a few times this show. At least 40 passing attempts in 5 of the past 6 games. Lamar Jackson is probably the best quarterback in the league right now in real football. But the Ravens, he doesn't have to score for the Ravens to do well.
Is this the second lowest point total?
Yeah, he had no touchdown. Yeah, he had no touchdowns last week, and he had 1 against the Cardinals. Meanwhile, Sam Howell, he's going to throw the ball 45 times. And then you look at the Browns-Ravens matchup, it's only 38 game total. Yeah. So
it's ugly.
Yeah, so you not crazy. Like I'm actually starting Lamar over CJ Stroud. This is something I'm dealing with too. But because Sam Howell has that much volume, I don't think you crazy. I can't tell you to sit Lamar Jackson in favor of Sam Howell. But to answer your question, no, you're not. You're not crazy. You're not crazy.
You agree, Matthew? Sam Howell over Lamar?
No, I have Lamar at 3. I'm still going with Lamar Jackson.
Right.
I get it.
We just telling him he's not crazy.
Definitely not crazy. But you're definitely not crazy. I have both as top 10 options. Again, I also think they both have good games, so you probably don't get this one wrong. But you heard Danny talk earlier about how they give up big chunk plays. Well, that could also include to Lamar's legs. The Browns do. They give up these big chunk plays. And so I just feel like it's hard for me to imagine Lamar Jackson, a healthy Lamar Jackson, having 3 bad fantasy days in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So give me Lamar Jackson.
The rushing makes this. I think it has to be Lamar, but you can't go terribly wrong on that. I mean,
Right.
Hal's going to have a nice day too.
All right. We know the Texans got themselves a guy
Yeah.
in C.J. Stroud, and if you're also fortunate, you have yourself a QB1 fantasy starter in C.J.
Yeah,
Stroud.
and I don't think you could talk enough about C.J. Stroud. The thing is, they got back to the volume passing. In 6 games, he's attempted at least 30 passes. In those games, he's averaging 321 passing yards, and he's thrown at least 2 touchdowns in 4 of those 6 games. We just saw the Bengals, not long ago give up a QB11 week to Brock Purdy, and this is with 3 turnovers that Purdy had. Gave up a QB4 fantasy week against Josh Allen in a game where Allen didn't have his best regular football game. So fantasy-wise, the Bengals are still giving up the points, and we're just reiterating you could feel great about C.J. Stroud.
All right. Denny, how great do you feel about Justin Herbert?
I feel pretty good. Look, like I said before, I think that this is a game where the Chargers will drop back a lot against what's known as a pass funnel defense in the Lions. Teams are just not trying to run it against them. I think that you can pencil in 40-plus dropbacks for Herbert in this game. Now, are there going to be chunk gains? Probably not. But I think that there will be enough decent gains. This game could be a little bit of a shootout back and forth. I think you can feel a little more confident than you have been starting him. Last week, he wasn't asked to do much against the Jets. We know that. They still won pretty easily. But I do like him against the Lions.
All right. I would like to go beyond the top 10. We talked a lot about Sam Howell. Let's talk about his counterpart, Matthew, Geno Smith.
Yeah, look, Geno, I think this is a get-right game for the entire Seattle offense, especially their passing offense. Washington allows over 20 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks this season, 3rd most in the NFL. Oh, by the way, that was with Montez Sweat and Chase Young playing most of the games. They're not there. They've also allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 5 of their past 6 games. They are 6-point underdogs here. Again, on the road, traveling to Seattle, very tough place to play. I think this is a get-right game for Geno Smith. I'm at QB 13. He made my love list this week on others receiving votes. I think Geno is a high-end QB2 this week.
He should have a lot more touchdowns than he has. I mean, just I'm not going to bore you guys with the metric, but he should have like 4 or 5 more touchdowns than he has. I think today could be a 2 or 3 touchdown game.
Positive touchdown regression coming not only for Geno Smith, but as we've talked about, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all the guys on the Seattle offense.
We got a question. Guillotine League, 2 QB slots. Goff, Geno, or Purdy, Matthew?
It's a great question. I'm going with Goff and Purdy here. I get it. I mean, we just talked up Geno Smith, and then you're like, wait a minute, now you're benching him? But again, a guillotine league is all about floor, not about upside. We like Geno as an upside play, but if you're telling me one of these guys completely tanks, I feel like it's more likely to be Geno than the other two, just because here's the thing. You could see a turnover for Washington. You could see rushing touchdowns from Ken Walker. I just think there's a floor high for Purdy. We talked about that Jacksonville-San Francisco game and how high scoring we expect that is.
Yeah.
And also, again, Chargers-Lions should be a shootout as well. I think Goff and Purdy have the highest floor of all three of those 3 guys.
Guillotine,
and
floor,
that's what guillotine,
format.
it's all about floor.
Yep.
That's a
makes
good
lot of
point.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I would probably go Geno, Purdy here, but if we're talking about guillotine, I think it has to be Jared Goff.
Okay. Hey, Lawrence, where do you have Kyler Murray compared to where Matthew does in your rankings?
Like I said earlier, in shot for shot, I got him as quarterback 7. It sounds high, but that's where we would rank him weekly if he wasn't coming off the injury. And this is what
So you got him QB 7. Matthew got him QB 15.
Yeah.
So that means you are super high on Kyler first game.
Yeah,
That's something.
because I don't, he been practicing for like 3 weeks. They're going to put him in the game and he's going to play. I don't think they're going to put him out there to half-ass the game script or try to, that's what the 3 weeks prior was for. And you got to match up here in Atlanta that, Sam Howell, your guy, was quarterback 8, Baker Mayfield, quarterback 11, Will Levis, QB 6, and we saw what Dobbs did last week. The Falcons have allowed multiple touchdowns to quarterbacks in the past 4 games. They're home.
Yeah.
They're ready to see him back. They got nothing else they 1-8. Like they're fighting for that number 1 draft pick. So
Kyler Murray is fighting to keep his job. I don't want you drafting Caleb.
Right.
And I'll tell you-
all of that.
And I'll tell you what else. We haven't really gotten into them. Maybe get into them in receivers or running backs, but also James Conner coming back, a
That's
workhorse
true, man.
running back, but Marquise Brown,
Thank you.
who balled out when he had Kyler Murray
Like
last
them all,
year, right?
like them all, man.
Big play.
You getting Michael Wilson back as
Michael
well,
Wilson,
so everything
yes.
is just like
Doesn't
coming-
feel like a 1 in
It's
18.
aligning.
right. Not today, it don't. You know.
Right.
I hope that's true. That was my storyline at the top of the show. My only concern is it's been over 330 days since we've seen Kyler Murray on a football field, and it's one thing to practice in a red no-contact jersey. It's another thing against a Falcons defense that has been inconsistent recently, but has shown signs of being good. And this is a must. Cardinals want to win, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Kyler back, but like Atlanta needs to win this game. This is a must-win for Atlanta to keep pace in the NFC South.
And I actually don't think they win the game.
We talked
I
about
like
this.
the
We
Cardinals.
like the Cardinals money line.
Yeah.
And seeing how Josh Dobbs ran the ball against them, it's like we know Kyler can do that. So, we'll see what happens.
It's fascinating all around. Different
Yeah.
offense.
Yeah. Fun
Kyler
game.
than the one
Yeah.
we saw
Look.
previously.
We're happy. It's great to just get Kyler back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood
definitely.
Brown has been an air yards champion this year.
Right.
We love the air yards. If he can convert some of those, if Kyler can help him convert some of those into actual real life yards, that'd be cool.
Marquise Brown has a 28% target share this year, again with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune.
Right.
So
Solid.
if with a more accurate quarterback, which is what Kyler is, he should eat starting this way. I want to wait and see it on Kyler. You're ready to put him right back
Look,
in.
I have some teams where I'm not playing them, but I have other teams where I've been waiting to get them back because I lost. So it depends on your situation.
My best ball teams need him bad, Lauren.
There you go.
Will Levis, QB1 for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, a historic start. His first game out was solid on the road against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Held up nicely, although finished with that end zone interception. What do you expect from him today?
Look, the Bucks are the most extreme pass funnel in the NFL right now, and they're banged up in the secondary.
Yep.
So I feel like the Titans should lean on the pass here, but will they? I feel like Mike Vrabel might not be listening to me right now. I mean, he might not care that they're a pass funnel, that they're giving up a bunch of chunk gains on the through the air, and he might just establish a run with Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. But the matchup is right. It couldn't be better. Also, the Bucs are not pressuring the quarterback at all, and Levis through 2 games has been really good when not under pressure.
Yeah, by the way, and I believe in that particular game, Carlton Davis is out.
Yeah,
just
but-
checking that.
yeah,
I mean, so right to your point
Tampa's
about
banged
the
up,
to you talk about the Buccaneer secondary being banged up. So Carlton Davis not going to play in this one.
And Tennessee has injuries too. I think this game could be a little
Sneaky
interesting.
shootout.
A little interesting for fantasy.
Yeah, sneaky shootout again. Chig Okonkwo, Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Aquino.
Oh, we got to get them all.
You got them all. Anyway, we like Will Levis, local Connecticut guy, Madison, Connecticut.
Can we just sneak this in since we got a final from Frankfurt? 10-6 Indianapolis. Big story coming out of this game is Mac Jones throws a god-awful interception on the
In the red
penultimate
zone.
Yes, in the red zone on the penultimate possession for the Patriots. Bailey Zappi is in on the final drive. He throws a pick to end the game. They put him in on the final drive, needing a touchdown. They end up coming up short, 10-6. Like last year, you could say, okay, they had a defensive coordinator, a special teams coach as their offensive coordinator. Mac Jones gets Bill O'Brien back. I mean, preseason, there was a lot of love for Mac Jones and his ability to get back to that rookie year version of Mac Jones or take a step forward.
Did you say guilty?
I'm guilty.
I know it, but you're also not alone. You're not alone. Like, a lot of people, what the hell happened to Mac Jones?
I don't know.
Well, I don't
Or
know
was
what
he ever that
happened
good to
him,
begin with?
But the Patriots are in play for a quarterback that season as well. We just saw them go to 2-8, so they're in that same realm. Look
We'll
out
see
for
who their
that.
course is.
So he,
That too.
We'll see who's drafted and coaching that quarterback.
There's a chance that Belichick and the Patriots move on from each other after this season, for sure. Third game this year that the Patriots have not scored an offensive touchdown
That's crazy.
in a game.
That's bleak.
not good.
By
Hashtag
the way,
analysis.
Mac Jones as a rookie was completing everything inside of 10 yards. Really good short yardage passer. That has not been the case this year. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
Zeke's balling though. Zeke had a nice look.
Zeke looked nice.
Well, and Ramondre
really
Stevenson
good.
left this game for a little while. He was in and out of the lineup as well. But yeah, no, Zeke certainly did.
I didn't even know that was him. He looked thin.
He does look thin as well.
Got in shape.
Michael Pittman, you're going to watch. You'll see this replay. Michael Pittman, and I'm somebody who has Michael Pittman in a decent amount of leagues.
I can't tell.
Got completely jobbed on a touchdown. Should have been him. Jonathan Taylor ends up getting in. Josh Down had to make a couple of nice plays towards the end of.
You mentioned third time that they've not scored an offensive touchdown. Third time they replaced Mac Jones as well this season. With 15 out of 20, but just looks so. He always just looks skittish.
Yeah.
He looks skittish. And you can't make excuses about the coaching or the wide receivers forever. He's just not been good. All right, moving on to running backs. Who's more frustrating, Zach Wilson or Mac Jones? The conversation for a different day. But Breece Hall still finds a way inside
Mac
the top
Jones.
10.
I'll say Mac Jones more frustrating than Zach Wilson.
No
Mac Jones
way.
has a better offensive line than what Zach Wilson has. Like,
I don't know.
And has played good
I don't
football
know.
previously.
Zach Wilson is like
I would
the
say
worst
Matt
quarterback
Jones is.
ever.
what?
Zach Wilson has a case to be the worst quarterback ever.
Not ever.
Ever.
A lot of dudes are playing quarterback. You mean like the worst number 2 pick or worse?
No, I'm
like,
talking about the worst. Like if you
Like
the
all the
worst,
dudes.
the worst
You
guy
got,
ever.
you got
played
Nathan
quarterback.
Peterman out there
Like
living.
ever.
He's worse than that.
Ever.
He's worse than Peterman. I'm telling
Well,
you.
that makes Breece Hall Walter Payton. And
You got Kellen Mond out there.
Like,
Maybe Kellen Mond.
yeah,
You
I mean,
might
I don't
have
know
a
if you
point.
saw some of the quarterbacks that.
I've seen a lot of quarterbacks.
You can
Just
name
rolled
5
out
on it
there.
off the top of your head.
Right. I
That
mean,
plays
like,
for your franchise.
Zach Wilson, look, the Jets should have done everything they could. They should have signed 15 quarterbacks just to make sure Zach Wilson did not see the field this year.
So how does Breece Hall overcome
I-
that against the Raiders? Go ahead on Breece.
With just a massive workload. Over the last 4 weeks, he's averaging 20 touches per game, which is nice because running backs who've gotten at least 18 touches against the Raiders are averaging over 19 fantasy points per game. They're allowing 150 scrimmage yards to running backs this year as well. We saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did to this team. We saw what Saquon Barkley behind Tommy DeVito did to this team. Like even Saquon had over 100 yards against the Raiders. So
Yeah.
I think Breece Hall touches the ball a ton. He's their best chance at moving the ball against the Raiders tonight on Sunday Night Football. And just something to keep in mind here because we know you're going to watch. This is why betting and fantasy exist. Take the over on Breece Hall. Just trust me on this, especially over 2.5 receptions. I like that. He's my running back 8 tonight as well. Breece Hall, big game coming for him.
Lawrence, we had some disagreement earlier about Saquon Barkley, whether or not he was a good play against this Cowboys defense, but you just like his sheer volume.
Yeah, again, 27.6 touches and 114 yards from scrimmage in the 4 games since he's returned. You just gotta, yes, Dallas is 11th best against running backs in fantasy. Overall, Dallas is one of the better defenses in the league. But like you said, Matthew, last week against the Raiders, the Giants had nothing going. And this was last week was Barkley's first game this season where he was actually efficient as strictly a runner, going for 90 yards on only 16 touches. So he averaged 5 yards a carry. Saquon could be averaging 2.1 yards a carry for 3.5 quarters. Dallas gets ahead, they'll still hand him the ball, and he could go for 40. He's actually done that in that same situation versus Dallas. He did it last year versus them. So you just got to be like, hey, this is Saquon Barkley, and they got nowhere else to turn to.
There you go.
All right, Josh Jacobs, Denny,
Yeah.
got right against one New York team. Does he do it again against the other one?
I think so because this version of the Raiders, this freed version, is going to be very run heavy, like insanely run heavy. They had a 33% pass rate in neutral game script last week. Okay, so when before the game was a blowout, they were basically not passing it at all. I think that locks in 20+ touches, 20+ carries really for Josh Jacobs. Also, Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback for the Raiders, is prone to check down a lot to his tight ends and his running backs. That's good. That's good for Jacobs. So I think that just from a floor standpoint, you have a guy who's going to see 20+ touches. You obviously keep him plugged in. The Jets are also a little bit vulnerable on the ground over the past month.
All right, moving
They're a
on.
bottom 12 run defense over the last month.
Yeah.
The Jets are.
High key. Moving on beyond the top 10 to number 12, Aaron Jones. You like him at Pittsburgh to pick up where he left off. Heavy workload last week.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you free Aaron Jones. He got 24 touches last week, had an awesome game. By the way, the nice thing is that they're finally using him in the passing game, right? At least 5 targets in every game that he's played so far this year, 16.5% target share over the last 3 weeks, and now he gets a Steelers defense that allows the 5th most yards per reception to opposing running backs. Jordan Love looks lost. I mean, you're sitting here, bagging on Zach Wilson. Jordan Love has a lot more talent around him, I would argue, than Zach Wilson.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, he's got Garrett Wilson, and that's it. Alan Lazard might be the worst wide receiver in football right now.
That's true, but Garrett Wilson is one of the best.
Garrett Wilson is one of the best. I'm with you. I don't know. But, I'm not saying Zach Wilson is good. I do think it's not all Zach Wilson's fault. I will just say
I will go with that.
Guys, come on. The offense, they had a 6-string guy out there again on single coverage last week. I mean, come on.
This guy has the yips.
He does have the yips.
It's just something going on in here.
That's right.
Because he actually.
It's all mental.
He has the physical tools. I believe
he does. He could play.
But safe to say, nobody's starting Zach Wilson.
Oh,
but you like Aaron Jones as a
I do
starter.
like Aaron Jones. Anyway, the point of the matter is, it's like, again,
keep getting back to Zach Wilson.
I could go on.
It's polarizing.
They're starting to get back. I'm going to get you on Connor Rogers' podcast.
I like Zach Wilson. I got a Zach Wilson shirt that I wear on here like every 3 times.
I have nothing against him personally. Personally, I love Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I don't
We all do.
Professionally, I don't know.
I don't know.
But again,
It
thankfully,
sounds like
not relying on him.
Sounds like Zach Wilson and Mama Carter spent some time together. What's going on?
And we ain't talking about Michael Carter in the backfield.
No.
Took it there.
I'm just saying.
Took it
this
there.
feels personal on Dennis
Lawrence,
part.
let's move on to Javonte Williams.
Anyway,
Now it's
I have Aaron Jones. I have Aaron Jones as a top 12 player. Just say
He
that.
said now it's personal.
Yeah, right?
Yo.
It wasn't.
About to be some furniture moving.
Right.
So,
Javonte Williams, we already know Barry likes Javonte Williams today. What about you, Lawrence?
yeah, man, I like that shot, Barry. I don't think we both have him as top 10 running backs. What we're saying is he could very well be there. 2 straight games with at least 80 yards rushing. The interesting thing about that was one of those games he had 20. It took him 27 carries to do it. So it at least show you they're willing to commit to them in that run game. And this Buffalo defense is like scary, like you want to believe. They've allowed a running back to score in 2 of their last 3 games. They're 12th worst against running backs in fantasy on a points per game basis. So I think it will be. Javonte Williams doesn't have a rushing touchdown this year. I think he has a chance for that to happen this week.
All right. Denny, you mentioned earlier about the Bengals being the pass-heaviest team in the league. What does that mean for Joe Mixon?
Yeah, right. And I said I love Burrow's overs because they don't ever run the ball. Well, look, the Texans are a middling run defense. Joe Mixon is seeing literally all of the inside the 20 touches, really all the touches, 87% I think over the past few weeks. He's running all the routes here and has seen an uptick in targets. So I do think that Mixon could actually be in for a bigger day than I expected at the beginning of this day because Jamar Chase might be limited. T. Higgins is out. I do think they feel comfortable just putting the ball in Joe Mixon's hands. He's not great. He's not efficient, but he'll get you there on 20-plus touches.
All right. That sounds a lot. Well, not 20-plus, not the 20-plus touches part, but a lot of that commentary could apply to maybe Najee Harris.
100%. Look, someone, wherever Jay Croucher is, boondoggling, probably ruining a movie for somebody, please close his ears. I don't want anyone to hear me say nice things about Najee Harris, but look, workload's been there since week 3. He's averaging 16 touches a game. He's had 3 straight games with at least a 12% target share. Going against Green Bay, Packers, Packers have been kind of a middling defense as well, and so Harris should get a decent amount of work. I've been running back 22. I think he's a viable flex this week.
Okay. Lawrence, your guy Tyler Algier, the RB1 in Atlanta.
By if you talking carries, he is that. I don't even know if he ain't even a starter. Denny talked about him getting 2 touchdowns. Tyler Algier is averaging 3.2 yards a carry this season compared to Bijan's 5 yards per carry. That's interesting. Tyler Algier's had double-digit carries in 4 of the last 5 games, and we know Arizona, although a scrappy team, especially in the first half, they allow the 3rd most points per game to running backs in fantasy. And Arthur Smith has he's already said like he likes Tyler Algier near that goal line. It's clear.
Bijan opens things up for people. You know what I
Opens
mean?
things up away from the ball.
He's
away
great-
from
great
the ball.
off the ball.
He ain't gonna open it up for himself. He gonna open it up for Tyler
Jonnu
Algier.
Smith in the
Yeah, you know that little jet sweep to Jonnu Smith. That's Tyler Algier doing that for everybody, Matthew.
love
So
that,
he's a flex play.
Yeah.
That's I almost
tough.
cursed. That's crazy. Tyler Algier is a flex play this week, dog. And
Falcons-
Bijan is a flex play.
Let
He
the
ain't
Falcons
even
fan come
an
out.
RB2, dog.
Let
You
the
gotta
Falcons
play.
fan come out.
Danny
He's cool,
Carter's
man.
calling for 2 touchdowns for Tyler
Shit, he gonna
Algier.
get it. He's going to get it.
I
Tyler Algier. Tyler 2 times.
the craziest stat I think of the NFL season is that Tyler Algier has outtouched Bijan Robinson in the red zone this year, 26-12. More than twice as many carries. The guy you used the 8th overall pick on. Again,
Arthur Smith I ain't used that pick.
but
Hey, wasn't me.
what it shows is one of 3 things: either Arthur Smith completely mismanaging the game, or they completely botched the pick, which is just a massive misuse of the 8th overall draft pick, or
I don't think
the
it's
front
that.
the front office and Arthur Smith are not on the same page, and there's this massive dysfunction going on in Atlanta. It's one of those 3 things.
or a combination of them. I know.
Man, what happened
I know
at the-
Arthur Smith has driven people crazy to the point, and I'm gonna mention the Dynasty League. The guy that stalked me to get the 101 in the preseason, which I did trade to him. He's already traded Bijan Robinson.
Wow.
That's how frustrating it
crazy.
is.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
He's hate
But that's how.
traded him.
But he's
Yeah,
going for
that's
a
definitely
championship.
hate
Joe,
trading.
but that's rage trading.
He's going
right
for
there.
a championship
right,
this year
right.
because, as you say, flags fly
Flags
forever.
Flags fly forever.
He's going for a championship and can't count on Bijan Robinson. Man.
Yeah,
I mean, Bijan has been really good. Just so we're clear,
again,
all of the-
5 yards a carry.
All the underlying stuff says that he's been elite, borderline elite.
And you just
really.
can't measure his impact when it comes to opening up the offense for other people.
But so if
you
he
know?
ever gets a chance,
Yeah.
he will blow up. He will.
Yes.
Alexander Madison, though, Denny, what you got on him?
Yeah, so he was the cover guy on the regression files. If you guys want to read that before kickoff on NBCSports.com.
Nice.
I'm
Free.
I'm a company man, like Matthew.
Yeah, well
And Madison, yeah. So with the Akers injury, I think that Madison gets more red zone touches. Akers was really cutting into his workload in that part of the field. He's probably going to see an increase in pass routes and probably targets in this pass-heavy Vikings offense. By the way, the Vikings were pass-heavy even last week with Josh Dobbs learning the playbook during TV timeouts. Okay, so they're just going to continue, I think, to pass a lot. So, Madison, he's not going to I don't think he's capable of having like a blow-up week, but he's definitely capable of getting you 15 to 16, 17 PPR points.
Okay. Hey, Steven, lead these full screens up. We're going to power through these pass catchers real quick. 1 through 10, real quick, Matthew. I know you got DK Metcalf having his best fantasy game of the season.
Washington allows the 2nd most touchdowns to wide receivers this season. They've allowed the most yards in deep passes. Metcalf top 10 in average depth of target. He's my wide receiver 8. Start
Lawrence,
DK.
Matthew's ride or die. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I got Matthews ride or die at wide receiver 1 this week, going against the Chargers here, 4th worst against receivers in fantasy. This game has the highest gain total at 48.5. Love Amon-Ra St. Brown this week.
And Denny, quickly on Keenan Allen.
Yeah, Keenan Allen should be the key beneficiary to a lot of pass volume for the Chargers today, seeing 35% target share over the past 2 games, also is dominating in air yards.
All right, beyond the top 10, Matthew, your expectations for Calvin Ridley against the 49ers?
We've talked about this game a few times. We expect this to be kind of a sneaky shootout, at least 8 targets in 3 of the past 4 for Ridley. And by the way, in the last month, Niners allow the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Give me Ridley as a top 20 play today.
And Lawrence, Matthew's got DK Metcalf going off. What about Tyler Lockett?
I like Lockett too. I like all the receivers for Seahawks this week against Washington, who's 3rd worst against receivers in fantasy. Juju Smith-Schuster and Pop Douglas last week had their best games of the season against Washington. We saw what A.J. Brown and Devontae did to them, so we love Lockett and Seahawks receivers.
All right, and Denny, Devontae Adams with this run-heavy offense under Antonio Pierce.
Against an elite New York Jets secondary with a Raiders team that I think will run it no matter the game script here. Unless things get really wild, I think Devontae Adams will have to get it done on like 5 or 6 or 7 targets. I don't like his chances of being able to do that. you probably have to start him, but in 10-team leagues, I might think twice.
Yep. All right, Matthew, Drake London back from the groin injury. Will Arthur Smith get him the ball via Taylor Heineke?
I have no idea. But I do like it. I like his chances a lot better with Taylor Heineke than I do with Desmond Ridder. Last 5 games, Drake London does have a 25% target share, so nice to get him back against Arizona. That allows the 3rd highest catch rate to wide receivers.
Lawrence Tyler Boyd with no T. Higgins and a banged-up Jamar Chase.
And as we know, he's usually the one who steps up in these situations. He has 5 career 100-yard games and 15 touchdowns with Joe Burrow. So there you go. He's my wide receiver 27.
And Denny, what you got on Jerry Jeudy at Buffalo on Monday night?
Yeah, actually, Bills have given up the 4th highest target share to guys running routes from the slot. Jerry Jeudy runs most of his routes from the slot. I do think this will be a low-volume passing attack for Denver in this game. I think they're going to try to be conservative, keep it on the ground like they did against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. But Jeudy, I think you can get in your lineup as a flex.
We'll do beer goggles after the break, but Matthew, how you feeling about Jacoby Myers? Once upon a time, fantasy darling Jacoby Myers.
I would need to be pretty drunk. He's on my hate list this week. Have him outside my top 30. Jets allow the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. They have yet to allow 45 receiving yards to multiple wide receivers in the same game. We expect Devonta Adams to at least get him below a 15% target share for Myers from Aiden O'Connell this season. Again, outside my top 30 on my hate list.
And Lawrence, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what it's like now that he's back. It'll be interesting to see what it's like for Jahan Dotson because he's been a top 5 receiver in fantasy the past 2 weeks. Before that, Curtis Samuel was playing on 65% of the snaps as a slot receiver.
All right, moving on to tight ends. Coming off a monster game, Dalton Schultz, Matthew.
Yeah, we've talked about this Texans offense quite a bit. Since week 5, he's the 3rd best tight end in fantasy. We've talked about the great matchup with Cincinnati. Bengals bottom 3 in terms of most receptions and yards allowed to opposing tight ends. We saw what Dalton Kincaid did to him last week. Dalton Schultz, back-to-back Daltons against the Bengals. He's my tight end 2 this week.
2 Daltons in the top 5.
Wow, you're high.
We talked about George Kittle earlier, Lawrence. Deebo Samuel back. Coming off the bye, though, against Jacksonville. What do you expect from Kittle?
Yeah, and just be wary of that. With Deebo this year, he had 3 games with 6 or few fantasy points. The only time that Kittle had double-digit targets this season, Deebo Samuel was not present. So just settle the expectations a little bit.
All right, and Denny, Trey McBride, a popular and productive pickup prior to the return of Kyler Murray.
You got to ignore the Clayton Tune fiasco with Trey McBride and just, I think, keep him in your lineup. Only the Chicago Bears have allowed more tight end receptions than the Falcons this year. McBride is running 60% of his routes from the slot. That's where the Falcons have been most vulnerable. So I think he gets it going again today.
Matthew Denny's storyline was whether Taysom Hill could keep it going. What are your expectations for him? And tell me something good, because I'm starting him at tight end.
I believe Denny Carter, who says he's going to keep getting away with it. Over the last 4 weeks, he's the 2nd best tight end in fantasy. And again, 3 straight games with double-digit opportunities, meaning rushes and targets. They get in close. He's their goal line quarterback / running back / whatever, gadget player. In a league in where most of your tight ends are touchdown dependent, who's got a better shot at touchdown than Taysom Hill among the other Rands?
And Denny, return the favor. Talk up Matthew's call, the tight end 1 this week, Chig Okonkwo.
Yeah, so his route rate is up, which is important because it really was down bad to start the season. The Bucs are allowing the 8th most receptions to tight ends this season. Tight ends are averaging almost 10 targets per game against the Bucs, combined total. But yeah, so I do like Chig Okonkwo. Hopefully Mike Vrabel doesn't just run the ball all day.
All right, Sunday night, Sauce Gardner and the not worst quarterback of all time, Zach Wilson, along with the rest of the Jets, take on Devontae Adams and Antonio Pierce's Raiders. Sunday, 7 Eastern. That's today, 7 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Be sure to tune in to Football Night in America for your nightly dose of Matthew Berry. Doing a shot every time. I know.
This is
pass
Jenny
funnel.
Crunch.
I know, dude. I was thinking about, until last week, the name of my team, I changed it to Positive Touchdown Regression. This week, I'm thinking about Pass Funnel. Thank you, Johnny Crunch.
Yeah, exactly. I
noticed
appreciate
that
it.
too.
Listen, call an Uber or a Lyft, brother. Don't drive because you're probably getting even more hammered.
That's what
Denny
happens.
loves him some funnels.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have me on the show. Am I supposed to not talk about pass and run funnels? Come on.
Come on. It's on brand.
Get your weekdays started with Bet the Edge. Join Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick as they tackle the biggest games from every angle in the NFL, NBA, and more. So whether you're targeting spreads and totals, looking for value in futures markets, or circling player props, Jay and Drew have you covered with new episodes every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern. In other words, Matthew, Jay is still present in the show. This counts as attendance in today's show.
It doesn't, but I like the fact that he shows up for that show, but not ours. I mean, he doesn't shave for that show. I mean, look at that picture. They couldn't have gotten him like a clean-shaven headshot.
That's 6 days of growth on his face.
He got that shadow.
He does have a
It's called
boyish.
6 a.m. shadow.
He has a boyish quality to him.
All right, time to throw back a couple of beers here. Scale
Beer
of 1 to
goggles.
5. How many?
Danny, you haven't been here on the show before, but the premise is we're in a bar and judgment changes the more you drink. So
This is
how
what I
drunk
hear.
do you have to be?
I hear that.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah,
I've
that's the
maybe
premise of this
experienced
segment.
that.
All
Beer
right.
goggles.
Let's start with Falcons, Cardinals, Matthew, and Marquise Brown. Do you need anything to start with Marquise Brown?
Nah, just a beer that I'm kind of nursing throughout the game.
Social drinking, yeah.
Social, just hanging out,
Yeah.
being one of the guys, doing stuff like guys do. Look, last 4 weeks, your Falcons, Lawrence Jackson, are among the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. I don't know what's going on with your team. I blame you entirely. But what I will say is that the 8 games last year that Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown played together, 27% target share, average over 17 fantasy points per game. We've talked about this year in this offense. Hollywood Brown has a 28% target share. So just massive volume going to him in a game in which we expect Kyler Murray to look for him early and often.
Yep.
Denny.
I'm a top 20 wide receiver.
Drake London.
Drake London, look, I'm hammering a lime seltzer.
You're chilling?
No alcohol.
Okay.
I'm completely
Stone cold sober.
Stone cold sober. Drake London.
No judgment.
Should thank you. Should definitely benefit from Taylor Heineke pushing it downfield more. I think he definitely gets there today.
I'm just going to start calling him Designated Denny.
Yeah. Hey, and
I like
you know
it.
what? That's what my friends called me in college.
Triple
That
D,
was actually
Designated Driver Denny.
Yeah, I was the coolest guy in the whole group. Designated Driver Denny.
All right.
Hey,
Triple
Lawrence,
D.
we're going to make you talk about Tyler Algier again.
Again?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not designating anything. I need 3 beers to
That's
start.
it?
Look, I need the 3. I know he can get the touchdown, but if he don't get it, you get nothing. But we do know Arthur's going to. This is a shout out to Johnny. Funnel those touches to Tyler Algier, but I need 3 beers for it.
All right, moving on to Browns-Ravens. I think Browns-Ravens is going to be a great football game. Fantasy-wise, maybe not so much.
Not so much.
Deshaun Watson. I'm starting Will Levis over Deshaun Watson in the show league.
But I
Thoughts?
feel that. I don't have a
that's
problem with
good.
that. To start Deshaun Watson, I would want 3 beers, a shot. I'd want the Jello girl to come over and like squirt some stuff in my mouth as well. Just like, I'm not Denny.
Pause.
Yeah, Denny.
Well, I would drive you home.
This is why
Designated
I roll with
Denny to the rescue.
Designated Denny to the rescue.
I'd pick you up and carry you to the
Lawrence
car.
has rolled with me in Vegas. He knows I don't. Yeah, I'm drunk, Matty. Me and Lawrence heading out there. I will say this. The concerns here is that 7 of the 9 quarterbacks to face the Baltimore Ravens this year have scored below 13.5 fantasy points. They allow passing touchdowns at the lowest rate this season. Browns have the 2nd lowest implied team total this season. We don't expect a lot of points to be scored, and when they do get scored, we don't expect it to happen through the air. I have Deshaun Watson merely at QB 17. I'd want to be pretty blitzed to start him today.
Denny, what about Jerome Ford in this matchup?
I'm going to need 2 beers for Jerome Ford here because the Ravens' run defense has been so good. I think the Browns could be in a position where they fall behind and they kind of have to abandon the run game here. They're missing their right tackle. I fear for anybody and starting anybody for the Browns today, honestly.
And let's be honest, just 2 beers for Denny
Oh
is
my
like
gosh.
4 beers for the rest of
No,
America.
2 beers, I'm on the floor.
Right, exactly.
And you guys are dragging me out by my
that's
legs.
like, yeah.
Lawrence, what about Zay Flowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to need 3 here. We know he's their number 1 receiver, but again, this is the 2nd lowest game total on the slate, behind only the Raiders and the Jets. You don't like that for fantasy purposes. And OBJ came along a little bit last week. Just overall as the game, like you said, it'll be a good game, but I would still need 3 beers to start Zay.
All right, moving on to Packers, Steelers. Matthew, how many beers you need to start pissed off George Pickens?
I want 3 beers because not just pissed off George Pickens, it's pissed off fantasy managers as well. Back below a 20% target share in back-to-back games he's got a 51% catch percentage this season. It's weird. He drops the easy ones and then he makes these crazy one-handed ones as well. But worth noting, the Packers allow the 6th fewest receptions to wide receivers this season. Kenny Pickett ain't playing great. We know Deontay's getting his. 3 beers for Pickens, who's outside my top 30.
Denny, what about Jalen Warren?
Jalen Warren, I am going to need one, but only one.
Okay.
And but one for me, obviously,
Yeah,
you
right.
adjust the metrics. It's 5 for anybody else.
Right.
But Jalen Warren should benefit from a run-heavy script here against I'm going to say it, guys, the run funnel Packers defense.
You hear that noise? That's Jake hitting
Yeah,
hitting the floor. He just did one more shot.
Lawrence, Christian Watson, so much hype, so little production.
I'm going to be the first one to have 5 beers here today, and I need 5 to start Christian Watson. He hasn't had more than 3 catches in the game, and do you need me to keep saying any more stats to validate this?
No.
Nah.
Well, it's
there
all
you
or
go.
nothing with him. All or nothing.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew, I know you're going to cheer this guy, but Josh Dobbs going to the Saints-Vikings matchup. How many beers do you need to start him?
2 beers, but for me, that's like no beers. I'm not Denny. Look, he's the 9th best quarterback in fantasy since week 2, even over 2 different games, at least 40 or more rushing yards in 6 of 9 games this year. Listen, last week the Saints gave up almost 300 total yards to T-Bag, Tyson Bagent. I think Dobbs is better than Bagent. I'm a QB 16 this week just because there's a lot of quarterbacks with good matchups, but yeah, give me Dobbs.
All right.
With 2 beers with Dobbs.
How many for
QB2.
Alexander Madison or for you to start Alexander Madison, Denny?
I'm going to just need one because of the added volume after the Akers injury. Just one.
All right. And Lawrence, Jordan Addison?
Just 2. Saints have given up at least 80 yards to the opposing team's top receiver 3 of the last 4 games, and we like Dobbs a lot. So there you go, just 2.
We do like Dobbs. This is a pro-Dobbs show.
And we like Jordan Addison too. So
Yes,
the
sir.
combination is,
All right.
Dobbs.
So Matthew, by my count, has had 9 beers. So he's feeling good.
I'm easy. I'm easy right now. This is the time to pick me up.
Pick him up. Let's go. Lawrence, you're up
I'm
first.
like-
Well,
I'm
see,
like,
you,
glug,
see,
glug.
see what you just said. You're easy. Now I'm just gonna pray on that and
Fair.
just weasel into those
Sounds inappropriate.
biases there, because I'm going Sam Howell, right? I'm not gonna take his
man.
Hit me
normal.
where it hurts, yeah.
Right. I'm not gonna take his normal, over under 258 passing yards. That's not risky enough. I like risk. We're going to go with the alternate number, 275 passing yards at plus 125. You know the numbers.
Yeah.
You know he thrown the ball 46 times at least the past 3 games. Seattle hasn't given up 275 yards since week 2, but guess what? Sam Howell is averaging 275 yards per game. So there you have it. Mr. Berry and Jay is out today, so I feel like I got a better chance today.
Yeah, well, I mean, you went with his guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's
You know,
that's it,
I
right? He
didn't
played
know
the
I'm
that.
hit.
pandering right now.
Exactly.
He's
He played the
a
hits.
politician.
So Denny, you're hitting on Matthew, but you're sober right now.
Yeah, well, I am. I am. So I am clear-headed,
Yeah.
clear-eyed.
Yeah.
I can't lose. All right. So Justin Herbert against Detroit. I'm taking the over on 264.5 passing yards because of the following. Herbert has at least 35 pass attempts in 5 of his 8 games this year. I think he goes well over that today. 65% of the offensive plays run against Detroit this year have been passes. That's the 3rd highest rate in the league. There's just no way that the Chargers are going to run the ball here.
So
Yep, I guess a tough one.
Yeah.
He's got
yeah,
this
I
history
mean,
with
it's how
Lawrence, Sam Howell.
right, and it's at plus money. I like actually both these bets. Pickup lines has been really, really good. I think both these bets hit. I am going to go with Lawrence, though, just at the plus money because the stat I gave, again, quarterbacks that throw at least 35 times against the Seattle Seahawks average 300 passing yards. We know he's going to throw it 40 times today. Get me to 275 on plus money on the alt line. So
I don't even blame you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the
I-
right.
Have you gone home with Lawrence this season?
Yeah, he earlier in the season.
It's been a while.
I have.
No, I think the last time was Justin Fields, one of them games he went off.
Well, I mean, and you know,
But we back,
and-
baby.
And,
We back.
and the staff bowling party like that
Yeah.
too, but that wasn't really related to bets that he led.
And
It
don't
was just-
feel bad.
We
You know,
just had a good
he'll
night.
hit you up later after he's done with Lawrence.
Okay.
I'll hit you. I'll be like
You the jump
I'll
off.
be like you up, roll through.
Sloppy second.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, peacock and chill.
And YouTube. Peacock and YouTube.
Oh
this
yeah,
show.
either one. Yeah, we can have whatever you want in the background.
Hey, isn't that nice? George Kittle taking care of the fans, looking out for
There you
them.
go.
Very nice.
Christmas come early for that kid.
By the way, Patriots just signed this kid to a 10-day contract.
About as accurate as Mac Jones.
I'm just saying.
Pick
Not
him
even
up, pick
15
him
to
up
20
in
today,
decrease.
crazy enough.
Look at the bar trivia standings. Who's on top? Who's on
now-
top?
So wait,
now-
so Denny now counts for James.
I
huh?
do.
I think so.
Yeah,
That's how we're
but
going to do it.
let the record show I am one behind Matthew, but
Yes.
I picked Jaron Hall to throw for more passing yards than Heineke last week, and he got hurt in one quarter after
wait,
throwing
did
for
Dobbs?
78.
Wait, but did Dobbs?
Nah, because if he did, I would have tried to.
That's what I'm saying.
I would have
That feels
tried
like
to do a recount.
That feels like an asterisk situation.
Nah, he didn't. He didn't.
You know, I don't know.
All right, tomorrow's trivia answers today, starting with who had more passing yards, C.J. Stroud or Joe Burrow, Matthew?
Joe Burrow.
Burrow.
Stroud,
Who had more receiving yards, Chris Olave or Jordan Addison, Lawrence?
Chris Olave,
Olave.
I'm going to say Olave, too.
Who scored more fantasy points, Aaron Jones or Deontay Johnson, Matthew?
Free Aaron Jones.
Deontay.
Aaron Jones,
Who had more total yards, Derrick Henry or Rashad White, Lawrence?
Derrick Henry,
Rashad.
Rashad White.
Total yards, yep. Who had more rushing yards, Christian McCaffrey or Travis Etienne, Matthew?
More rushing yards. I'm going to say Travis Etienne.
CMC.
give me CMC.
Did Lamar Jackson have more than 2.5 total touchdowns, / will we see more than 2.5 total touchdowns in this game?
I'm gonna say yeah.
No.
No.
All right. Who had more touches, Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier?
Bijan Robinson.
I'm going to say Bijan just by a little bit.
Give me Bijan.
Bijan or Bijan? What are we doing?
Bijan
What are we
Robinson.
I
doing
thought it
here?
was Bijan. I thought it was
I've heard
Bijan.
it was updated to Bijan.
Yeah.
Bijan? Black people say Bijan, right?
Yeah. Bijan Robinson.
Did David
Yeah.
Montgomery score a touchdown in his return, Lawrence?
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not?
I'll say no, just to be different.
Okay.
All right. Did the Cowboys win by more than 20 points?
Yes.
It has to be yes.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah. Because
right.
that's 20. Yeah.
All right. Who had more receiving yards, Terry McLaurin or Tyler Lockett?
Give me Terry McLaurin.
McLaurin.
I agree with McLaurin. But screw it. I'll go Lockett just to be different.
No, just getting different all the time.
Who had more? Well, that's how I got this one game lead. Who had more total yards, Brees Hall or Josh Jacobs?
Brees Hall.
Brees Hall.
Brees.
Okay.
Copycats.
Who scored more fantasy points, Javonte Williams or James Cook?
I think we're all going Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Javonte.
Javonte.
Okay. We got any questions we want to sneak in, or we good to go? We good?
Yeah.
We answered
Here's
all the
my
questions?
question: is that
Yeah.
here's the thing. This is a perfect win-win because if Denny crushes in this one and gets up to first place, we discount it because it wasn't Jay.
Oh, come on.
But
we doing?
if,
Okay.
if
But if I do
but
poorly,
if you
yeah.
do poorly and it lowers Jay's score, then it's got to count. He
then it
wasn't
counts.
here,
Pile it on.
right?
Pile it
Lawrence,
on.
you're on board with us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's how I got
Jay,
it.
thanks,
know.
Jay.
Thanks,
When-
man.
Denny
Good
Carter,
to have
follow him
you.
on
Yes,
Twitter
sir.
at CD
Yes, sir.
Carter
Yes,
13.
sir.
Great job.
Thanks,
Closing
guys.
time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Lawrence, Denny, and Michael, I'm Matthew. Good luck. Go get a win. We'll see you Monday. Peace out.